All right, thank you for your patience. Apologies for the delay. Welcome to the regular Board of Education meeting for November 9th, 2023. We are first going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. Can Judy Moreno lead us in the pledge, please, from Riverbank? Thank you.
Yeah.
Please rise. Put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, we have our roll call vote. Vice President Wong.
Present.
Clerk Coffey.
Present.
Trustee Venegas.
Present.
Trustee Pizzati.
I'm here.
Thank you. Our announcements of actions taken in closed session. We have Government Code 54956.9 D2 pending or potential litigation. Direction was given. Government Code Section 54957.6 conference with labor negotiators, WSTA, CSCA management. Information received. Government Code Section 54957 public employee discipline dismissal release. Information was received. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, good. All right, then can I get an approval of the agenda?
I move.
All right, moved by Trustee Venegas, seconded.
I second.
Thank you. Seconded by Vice President Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. And that takes us now to our communications and celebrations. We're going to recognize the Washington Unified School District Board resolutions adopted for November 2023. Welcome to our Executive Director of Communication, Yorgos Kazanis.
Good evening, trustees, and thank you. As this item indicates, we're going to recognize various days and observances throughout the month of November. Our first slide, on the next slide, as always, we like to highlight the alignment to the district's strategic plan in the areas of goals for student success, equity principles, and the 4 pillars. And getting to the next slide, we are going to kick things off with Resolution 2324-11 in recognition of National Native American Heritage Month. This resolution was passed by the board earlier this school year, recognizing the contributions of Native Americans throughout the various curriculum in our schools, and asking schools to participate in various activities to do so as well. Now, for this particular item, we had asked my colleague, Director Grote, to join us this evening. However, she became ill at the last moment, so she apologizes for that. She provided me with a brief script that I would love to read to you and to our audience this evening. WUSD currently has 44 students enrolled who are Native American or Alaska Native and have a parent or a guardian who is Native American and are enrolled in a federally recognized tribe. Throughout this month, our school sites celebrate our Native American students and heritage with a variety of activities, including, but not limited to, cultural presentations, reading of Native stories, sharing of Native resources, and recognizing the importance of our Native American heritage. This Tuesday evening, high school students from River City High School, Yolo High School, and Washington Middle College High School attended the unveiling and dedication ceremony of the California Native American Monument at the state capitol. This is not the only, but one of many examples of local events that our students attend throughout the school year. At this time, I would like to introduce student Adam Mendez from Washington Middle College High School, who will share for us a little bit about what this month means to him, as well as some of his experiences in Washington Unified as well. So Adam, if you could join me at the podium.
Testing, 1, 2, can you hear me? All right, perfect. My name's Adam. As you heard, I am a part of the Tohono O'odham tribe of Arizona. I would like to start off by saying thank you for letting me come up here. Another thing I would like to say is the importance of Native American History Month within our schools. So to start, I was honored to be able to go to the field trip this Tuesday to the the Capitol to see the elder Bill William get unveiled, his statue. I was there a year ago when we had it. It was amazing. I was so happy that I was actually able to go to something native, which is very rare for me throughout my life. It's very important throughout the schools to be recognized for a month because our people have been brought down a lot, but it's good to see that we can be uplifted and we can show others how it is to be Native and what it is to be Native. I myself am helping with our culture celebrations at our school by doing a beading class, and we're gonna do movies. I would love to see in the future more curriculum about the natives and especially California natives because there are a lot. We are on tribal grounds everywhere and not a lot of people know that. And that would be something that I would love if we were to acknowledge in the communities and all around. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. On the next slide, we are showcasing Resolution 2324-31, recognizing National School Psychology Week. Washington Unified has about 10 school psychologists that provide services and supports to each of our schools on a daily basis. The work and the contributions that they make to our schools and the overall well-being of our students is immeasurable, to put it simply. So we want to take a moment to acknowledge them. That week is recognized annually, November 6th through 10th, which is this week. So thank you for all your contributions. We appreciate you, we see you, and thank you. On the next slide, we call attention to Board Resolution 2324-12 in recognition of Veterans Day. Veterans Day is recognized nationally on the 11th of November. This particular school year, we are observing that on November 10th. So tomorrow is a no-school day for all of our school days, for all of our schools in West Sacramento. We just want to extend on behalf of the Washington Unified family our sincerest appreciation to all veterans across the country, especially those here in West Sacramento. And lastly, on the last page, I feel like I need an applause button up here. On the last page is not necessarily resolutions, but they are other significant dates that we want to call attention to for the month of November. The other one that signifies is symbolic of the entire month is Child Safety Prevention Month. November 2nd, Dia de los Muertos, which you're going to hear more about in just a few moments. November 20th through the 24th is the official Thanksgiving recess for most of our Washington Unified schools, with the exception of Washington Middle College, which observes the holiday on the 23rd and 26th because they follow the local college calendar as well. So those are just some of the days throughout November that we wanted to call attention to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to and really thank you, Adam, for giving your time this evening to be here, for what you're doing at your school site to bring awareness, and also for giving us suggestions of how we can do better moving into next year. So thank you for giving your time. And thank you, of course, to our school psychologists and to all veterans who are in the room and in our community. I know we have our Veterans Day Parade on Saturday, I think 11. It will be going down Park Avenue if you can make your way there. All right, so that now takes us to our recognition of the district-wide Dia de los Muertos celebration, and again with Yorgos Kazanis, our Executive Director of Communication.
Thank you again. For this particular item, I would love to introduce the district's Student Leadership and Empowerment Coordinator, June Flores. June has been hard at work over the last month or so, putting together and mobilizing teams of people at each of our school sites to put together activities and different recognitions in honor of Dia de los Muertos. And she will explain more of that for the audience tonight, as well as a photo carousel as well.
And lower it a little bit. Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, Superintendent Dr. Hildreth, board members, my entire WUSD family, and the beautiful community that we have here. My name is June Marie Flores, and as you see, I'm the Student Leadership and Empowerment Coordinator. It is an honor to get to highlight the labor of love that took place on every school site last week in celebration of Dia de los Muertos. You can change the slide. and
Jim,
alignment
if
to
it's helpful, you can, I don't want to interrupt you while you're speaking, but you can also lower the podium if that's helpful. There's a little button right there that might make it a little bit easier so you're not having to.
Yeah,
It does.
I'm pushing. Oh, there we go. Little people, little but fierce. Thank you so much. That's okay. The alignment to the strategic plan. Next slide. So Dia de los Muertos is basically a celebration that started in Mexico, and it's a celebration to honor our loved ones who have passed away. It's a 3-day celebration. We have the 27th where we honor pets. We have the 1st where we honor children, and we have the 2nd where we honor adults. And so I'm going to take you through a slideshow. So if you could put the first one up. Oh, thank you. Next one. So what I want to highlight here was this was our first district-wide celebration, and it took all hands on deck to make this happen. We had food services involved who served elote, so corn Mexican style with mayonesa and tajin. We had fruta at the campuses, so fruit cups with tajin and limon. We had tamales. And this is the district celebration. We also did it at the district office. You will see a series of community ofrendas where all community members participated. As I go through the slideshow, I'm going to give you a couple highlights from each campus. But it is a time to say, as a district, I feel so proud to be part of this district, to see all hands that participated in celebrating the culture of our students. So at the district office, this was our ofrenda. We also served quesadillas, and we broke bread together that day. Next one. This is Bridgeway Island. It was beautiful in the wellness center. They had a craft at lunch where students actually painted rocks to remember their loved ones. Next one. This is Elkhorn Village. As you can see, the ofrenda in the back, every single grade level participated in building those ofrenda. If you look at the skeletons hanging up, those from a 1st grade class, all the way up to our Spanish and our dual immersion. If you see the cookies on the side, that was compliments of our culinary leadership students. They baked those cookies, they made the frosting homemade, and then they led the younger grade levels in decorating the skulls. The picture in front of Elkhorn, those are the student leadership group at Elkhorn. This is at River City. River City had every single grade level, every single Spanish class participate, their art teachers, and if you see the students in the bottom, those are the 3 students who coordinated all the events that took place. Next slide, please. This is Riverbanks. This is gorgeous. They had their student leadership, teachers throughout the school participate in it, and they also had participation from their parent group. So their parent group played a huge part in this. In addition, in the evening, they showed a showing of Coco, and they had the dancers come out and dance. This is Westfield Village, and again, just a labor of love. You can see everybody participating. They even had food for visitors who wanted to come and see the community ofrenda. This is Westmore Oaks. We took a picture of the kitchen, the food services team there, just to show that it was all hands on deck. They were serving up love too that day. I had students walking around and actually telling me, "Can you believe what we're eating? Like, we're eating elote here." One of the food services ladies said that one of the students was like, "No, you didn't give this to me." Like, so excited and pleased to see a food that they're familiar with at their lunchtime. This is Washington Middle College. And again, Spanish teachers, they have a Spanish teacher from River City that's on their campus. She did these, and then they decorated all together. Next one. Yolo High School. You can see Dr. Hildreth in the picture. I want to give a shout out to all the district team members who went out to visit. You can see Ellie and George in the corner there who took it upon themselves to grill. You can see Diana in food services who served rice, beans, cut up all that fruit by herself. I mean, it was just beautiful. Our students were happy, they were engaged, their smiles. Usually the students who don't like to take pictures on that campus were like, take a picture of me eating my bread. That was nice, because they had pan dulce and hot chocolate. Southport, beautiful. Very similar. They made shoebox ofrendas. The lesson plan was actually designed by teachers at River City along with student leaders from River City. And that lesson plan for shoebox ofrendas was rolled out to every school. Stonegate, this was beautiful. They had one in the office and also one in their cafeteria, and in addition to that, in the evening, they threw a Stonegate Heritage Night, the first one ever. We had 28 groups of people participate in the Around the World fashion show, and what I say by groups is I mean a father, a mother, and their children, all dressed in their native traditional attire, showcased on that stage. There were tears in the audience. There were parents who were saying, I feel seen. I feel like my children are seen. And it was just a beautiful exchange of culture. Thank you. I do want to just end by also saying that because I'm the Student Leadership Empowerment Coordinator, I want to call out some of the students who were very active in this. So I want to thank the River City API Club, the BSU Club, the Afghan American Club, and MECHA, who played a role in making all of this happen. I also want to just say it took CSMs to participate. It took outreach specialists, VAPA teachers, families, and even the after-school program at Elkhorn had a huge ofrenda. So thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and thank you for just letting us be a district that sees our children and that celebrates culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, June, for your presentation, all the work that you do every single day. And it was really beautiful and touching to see what is happening for the first time consistently all across our campuses. It was just beautiful. So thank you for that work. And I want to thank my board colleagues here because for Dia de los Muertos, I was at St. Mary's Cemetery. It's the oldest Dia de los Muertos celebration. Is about 50 years old, where my stepfather was just buried this summer, and it was just beautiful, very healing, beautiful celebration. They had an outdoor mass, and then they also had the Aztec dancers who it comes back due to the cultural celebration, and it was just very powerful. So thank you for that, and thank you to my board colleagues too for filling in there, and maybe we can make sure that we are conscious of when we have board meetings too, that we're not doing it on certain days. All right. Okay, so that now takes us to our student and association reports. And we have Anna Maxwell. Welcome, Anna. And she is from Washington Middle College. And she will be sharing with us the student board update. Get away.
Testing, there we go. Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, Superintendent Dr. Hildreth, board members, and WUSD community. My name is Anna Maxwell, and I'm here to give the student board member report. As previously mentioned by Ms. Flores, we had Dia de los Muertos celebrations at a district-wide level, including at Bridgeway Island School, where their middle school students had their celebration at lunch. They also had their first middle school dance, and on another positive note, both volleyball and football teams made it to their championship games. Moving on to Riverbank, they learned about Turner Library, and grades 2 through 8th got to experience field trips. Over at Southport, they found their winners for their annual World Peace Poetry Competition, in which the winning poems were hung in the garden for all to see. They celebrated Dia de los Muertos by making ofrendas, and they also had their middle school team create a fall festival. At Elkhorn Village School, they also created ofrendas and had their students decorate sugar cookies with bright culinary leadership students. And they did not necessarily have a fall festival, but rather a very successful fall fiesta. At Stonegate Elementary, as mentioned, they did have their first Heritage Night, which included a diverse variety of foods, activities, presenters, and of course, the fashion show. Moving on to Westmore Oaks, they had a very successful trunk or treat orchestrated by their PTSA president, and they also want to give a very special thank you to their cafeteria staff for all that they do. At Westfield Village, they had many events consisting of College with the Principal, PBIS Kickoff, PBIS Costume Parade, a Fall Festival, and Dia de los Muertos celebration. At Washington Unified Virtual Academy, their average student completed multiple hours of both reading and math-related lessons on iReady. On November 2nd, they had an in-person day where they celebrated resilience in students who completed their jazz dance and drawing units. They also had positive results with their parent/guardian fall feedback survey. At Washington Adult School, for their pre-apprenticeship construction program, 4 out of 20 students completed their training with IBEW/SMUD electrical program. 10 students were placed in union jobs in the past 4 months, and for their citizen prep course, they had 2 students successfully pass their citizenship exam/interview. At Yolo High School, as mentioned, they celebrated Dia de los Muertos by creating ofrendas, as you can see, alongside River City. River City also had a food drive collaboration with Yolo County Food Bank, and they also hosted a free farmers market for both their students and their staff. And moving on to my very own Washington Middle College High School, the senior acceptance letters are coming in along with scholarships, with the biggest being $60,000 and $45,000, respectively. They also want to celebrate student athletes who maintain their GPA, and also want to mention how much fun they had with electives, field trips, and leadership events. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and as always, you're welcome to stay if you would like to, but you're also welcome to go and enjoy your weekend too.
Thank you.
All right, and next we have President Gonzaro. Welcome with our CSEA report.
Good evening, Board President Kirby Gonzalez, Superintendent Hildreth, trustees. I first want to thank all the staff that are here, whether classified, management, certificated, everybody that's here. I would like to give an update on community schools. We met with the district this Monday, and we had a good conversation. I've talked to my labor rep, and we plan on presenting the district with what we feel is a fair and reasonable proposal for YCCA to be incorporated in community schools by Tuesday. So we'll be presenting that shortly. I also want to thank, we have a sunshine proposal that's going to be approved here, and I'm looking forward to negotiations. I know SAC Unified just negotiated and came to an agreement on SEIU, so I hope we get the same in this district as well. And then this update is going to be a little different. I reached out to my members at the district office, and I've spoken to human resources already. I want all my members to file a grievance on Article 21.1, which is a safe working environment. None of my members, no staff, but I can only speak for my members up here. None of my members should be working in the environment they are in. I don't care if you're the superintendent or you're the custodian who comes in at night. Shouldn't be working in the environment we're in. So With that being said, I'm going to give the rest of my time to two of my members so they can give you an update on their experience in the district office, and then I know more is to follow in board updates. So with that, Christy and Penny would like to come up here, and anybody else that would like to support them, you guys can come up here, it's okay.
Good evening. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank Superintendent Hildreth for encouraging us to come and speak up. We have had leadership in this district in the past that have asked us not to embarrass the district, and I appreciate that she values our voice. I've watched with frustration over the last couple of months at board meetings when the notion of moving the district office to a different location was rebuked by board and by community members, and I thought, maybe it's my fault for not telling the story about what it's really like to work in the district office. So I just want to share my experience. I started working at the district office about 10 years ago. I went to that school in the 70s when it was called West Acre School. It was a 7th and 8th grade school. My mom went to that school also in the late 50s. That's how long that school's been around. We can all do the math and think about what kind of materials were used to build at that time, and just imagine what's happening there. We know public school facilities were really ignored through the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s, so this is not necessarily Washington Unified's fault. It's the state of California, but we need to take some action. When I first started working there, I felt it was a point of pride that our district office was put into this old, barely functional facility. I thought, this is great that the value is given to our students and the teachers that need to lead them. We can work anywhere. It doesn't matter for us. So the fact that my workspace have bathrooms with an air vent to outside, so if it's 110 outside, it's 110 in the bathroom, maybe 120, and if it's 40 outside, it's maybe 30 in the bathroom. I thought, well, it's okay because the kids have better. The fact that we went through a whole pandemic without the ability to wash our hands with hot water, that's fine. As long as the kids have what they need, we'll stick with this. The random HVAC system where it might be hot for a while and then cold, the fact that every employee has a heater and a fan at their desk to combat that, well, that obviously must not cost a lot in a PG&E bill because it's what we have to deal with every day. The mystery areas that we've been told in the past, well, don't walk in that 3-foot square area where the carpet's ripped out because that could be asbestos, but just put your desk 4 feet this way. I just thought that was normal. The room that we were told to stay out of because ceiling tiles had fallen down, so the solution was to close the door, don't go in that room because it's not safe. Again, no kids there, so it's okay if we're there. The fact that that room has a doorway into one of our active workspaces, and that doorway had a door with a glass window that had been broken, and so it had been sealed with a piece of plywood. So there is a magical piece of plywood that's going to protect us from that room that we aren't supposed to visit. Again, no students at this facility. That's a point of pride because we're working in the bad space so that people can have the better spaces. The common post-vacation and post-holiday acclimation to the climate, meaning I'm going to come back from vacation. My first week is going to be itchy, watery eyes, itchy skin, sinuses, because we're just getting back into how it feels to work in these offices. These are things that we have all worked with, at least in the 10 years that I've been there. I would also mention that any community members who have been following district business for 20 or 30 years know this. This is nothing new. We can go back in board agendas through the 90s and the 2000s where this was discussed multiple times. So there's a lot of people in our community who know this, whether they choose to accept that, it is a fact. But things are getting crazier, and things got real this week. So, aside from the windows that have been painted shut and the security cameras that show people walking into our parking lot and checking car doors on the regular, the fact that if I have to work maybe till 6 p.m. on a special project and I'm going to come out to that dark parking lot with no security, by myself and don't feel safe, that's scary also. I think we would deserve that bit of safety. The fact that I'm in the tech department and we have no place for loading or receiving or to receive pallets because there's no doorways large enough to receive those. So it is not unusual for me to be out in the rain offloading computers onto a mobile cart outside to get them into our door because we don't have proper receiving space, okay? And then our facility is not ADA compliant. So even if we wanted to hire a person who used a mobility device, they could not get through our district office. They couldn't get through a doorway. They couldn't get into our offices. That is criminal. I want to remind the board that I know you have a fiduciary responsibility to watch the bottom line of this district. I appreciate that. And I know we want to protect as many of the resources that benefit our kids as possible. But I would also like to remind you and remind the community who are listening, one of your responsibilities is stewardship of this district. And protecting one of your most valuable resources is protecting your human resources. We are professionals, and we deserve a professional work environment. This is not asking for luxury. This is asking for simple safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. My next member is Penny.
So, hi, everybody. This is my first time here in this office. I've gone to a couple events down here, but I feel special being up here. I'm just on what Christy has said, so I don't know if you've all heard, but I'm just going to get to the brunt of it. We have rats dropping from our ceiling, live rats. And we are in a workspace that is not safe, it's not healthy, it's not sanitary. When I first started working there, I was told, get used to the cockroaches, get used to the rodent droppings. Just not too long ago, I have coverage for me twice through the day for 15 minutes and an hour for my lunch. So I had one of our secretaries there. Well, when I came back, this is during the day, the rat or the mouse was dropping his little presents all over the back of my desk during the day while the secretary was sitting there. I also had another secretary there. I once again told her this is something that I was told we have to get used to. There was a rat there that had been, something else had been eating it. The smell was so foul and we couldn't figure out what it was. Well, right next to that, there was 2 mice that were alive. And that day I had seen a rat run through the back. Every morning when I get there, I hear them in the walls. I hear them up there. They're chewing the ceilings, and I have to clear off my desk because I don't want the public to see that. It's bad enough that we have to have our employees in there, but I try to be sanitize everything. And it's just shameful that we have to have the public. It's bad enough that we work there, but it's shameful that the public comes in, oh, there's cockroaches there. Oh, there's dead cockroaches over there on your carpet. And it's an embarrassment. I have a coworker in our office that has a health condition right now, as well as myself. I've been hospitalized 3 times within a year. Don't know if it has anything to do with working at the district office. I love my job. I love getting up and going to work every day. I feel important. I'm the outlet for every single office here to get their mail to them, to direct people, to direct the public. But like I said, it's embarrassing when they come in and see roaches on our carpet. And the office just does not look like a working environment that we should be in. For our health and our safety, it is not. I didn't write anything down, but to have rats dropping during the day while we're working and to see feces all over, that is just, it's shameful. And I feel that we're all better than that. I know that we are, and our district should be better than that. And I know there's probably a lot more to say. I didn't write anything down, but I'm here to support our parents, the children that come in there every single day. They come in there on a basis. I've come into my office, I'm an opener. I've had to clean what looks like where the rats are leaving urine on my desk. But that's what we have to get used to. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, President Gandara. Thank you, Christy, and thank you, Penny, for speaking as well, and giving your time this evening. It's important, and there will be, I know, more comments to come, but we are aware of what's happened, especially this week, and working on immediate plans, short-term and long-term plans. But thank you for giving your time, because you're right, unacceptable. Okay, President Knapp, welcome up with our WSTA report.
Wow, I'm really loving Riverbank right now. Thank you so much for listening this evening. I'm glad to see you, President Kirby Gonzalez, Vice President Wong, Clerk Coffey and trustees, Superintendent Hildreth. Hi, everybody. First of all, I just wanted to follow up after my colleague, Mr. Gandara, and thank everybody who's here tonight to see classified members, certificated members, and management here caring about WUSD and caring about our students. It's exciting to see a full house like this. I hope we see more of it because it means everybody here is here for our kids and for our community. I also just wanted to take a second. I was really moved by the speech by Adam tonight regarding his experience as an Indigenous person. And, you know, Indigenous people are everywhere, and they've been here before people that look like me were here, and yet they're so often forgot about. And there's a strong history and tradition, and I think we need to spend more time thinking about our Indigenous brothers and sisters. And I also want to make sure we acknowledge the Indian education program that's been here in WUSD. In fact, my very first, I was a sub at YOLO, and Lynette in the Indian education program said, hey, do you want to come and help us? And so talk about a fish out of water. Those guys are like, why is this big white guy in here with us? It touched my heart, and so I just want to thank Lynette and Akiba for their work in the Indian education program, and I hope we can keep shining a spotlight even when it isn't American Indian Month. That would be fantastic. Listen, I didn't plan on talking about this, but I forgot how important it was for me to see all of the work we did for Dia de los Muertos and the ofrendas that were created. This is what community schools are. It's recognizing the community that we're in, and we're celebrating it. I am so proud. I'm so proud to be in this district right now because over 40% of our student population is a population that celebrates Dia de los Muertos or has a history of celebrating Dia de los Muertos, and yet up to this point we never talk about it. And as a district, making that decision says that we in WUSD value the kids who are overwhelmingly the largest part of our population. How have we ignored it this long? So congratulations to everybody who made this happen. Blessings to you for making this happen. This is very important, and it's one of the very first times I'm super excited about the cultural work that we're doing because it reflects what our students see. I am humbled by Riverbank's turnout. WSTA is really trying to make sure our members start to come to board meetings because we want teachers to understand that their voice matters, that they know the students, and that they can speak for students. And so I'm so excited to see Riverbank's turnout, and we're going to keep doing this year.
I want to encourage the board to continue. I talked to Cheryl last week, Dr. Hildreth, and I understand that you're looking at a community schools resolution. And again, it doesn't have to look like the resolution that I sent you, but I think it's very important that we all put our hearts and minds behind community schools so that we can speak with one voice to continue doing things like this Dia de los Muertos celebration and represent our community. I also wanted to say, I noticed our start time was at 6:30 tonight. I hope that we continue to have a consistent start time so that our members can be represented. And if that was purposeful, thank you very much for listening. Last week, I reached out to facilities, MOT, and HR to seek a working group to address some of the deteriorating working conditions in some of our facilities. And we all know that for several years now, we have had problems with infestations at our sites. Mice, rats, possums. We had possums at Bridgeway last week, which they're cute, but they're kind of gross. Black widows, fleas, and other pests have been reported across the district for several years. And last week, as we just heard, rats were falling from the ceiling in the district office. Even though it's Halloween, I don't think what's meant by make it rain. I mean, it was quite festive, but not so good. As you, I'm sure, agree, these are unacceptable working conditions. And I absolutely understand that we are working with limited resources and we have older deteriorating facilities in the district. It's important to remember that most of these pests can carry dangerous diseases, and we need to find a way to mitigate this problem while we wait for larger changes to occur, and we understand that that takes time. I'm really asking that we can get a working group starting with my CSEA brethren, with MOT, with facilities, with HR, so that we can find ways to mitigate the problem while we search for the grander solution. I've never shared this here, and most people, even my friends, don't know about this, but I have been a victim of transmissible diseases from rodents. When I was 21 years old, I was working for the Forest Service, and that was in 1997. And I don't know if you remember the Hanta virus outbreak that was going on around then. I moved into a Forest Service barracks that was covered with rodent droppings, and I was terrified. We cleaned it up and we did a pretty good job, and we thought everything was okay. In about 2 months, I got desperately sick. I ended up in the hospital kind of at the edge of my life. It turns out I didn't get hantavirus. I got something called relapsing tick fever. I was bit by a tick that had bitten a rodent, and a couple of my colleagues passed away. I did not pass away. But the reason I bring up this story is that it's easy to dismiss these sorts of things when you're not hearing about them. There is no hantavirus outbreak right now. There's no relapsing tick outbreak right now, but it's just a day away. It's a flea away. It's a tick away. And so we really need to take these things seriously, because an outbreak is just that. As we know from COVID, it can happen in a second. And so I'm hoping we can work together to try and find a solution so that nobody goes through what I've gone through, which, by the way, has impacted my health and my life all the way up to this point. So let's make that happen. I want to thank Monique Stovall. Several times over the last few weeks, I've been a total nudge, and I've been like, I have an information request. I need this, I need this, I need this. Every single time she has worked. Some of them I'm still waiting for, but they're coming. I know that they're coming. And I just appreciate, as we talk about interest-based bargaining, and then I hear, yes, I'll get that for you, and then they come. It's so exciting. It means that trust is being built, so thank you, Monique. While I'm on that note, I also want to thank Farah. I just have, right now, the best working relationship. I always say that it is dangerous to say you get along with HR in my line of work, but I do. And I'm excited about continuing the IBB process with Farah and continuing to work. So thank you, Farah. Farah is a person of outstanding character. So, all right, I'm going to keep going because, I talk forever. Last year, we started to see high school seniors as recruits for paraeducators. It was really wonderful. I got to work with some high school seniors at my school, and it was so exciting, and they were excited. And these were folks that wanted to get into education, so we were promoting kids maintaining their connection to public education. I just hope that we carry forward with that and we build it up a little more. What a great college career pathway to do while you're going to college if you're trying to get involved in education. So let's amp that up. Let's go to River City and Washington Middle College High School and YOLO this year. Let's have people there. I'm willing to go stand there and try and recruit people. We know we need paras, and these are our own. They have vested interest in our community. Let's keep them here. I'm way too positive tonight. Got to work on that. Okay, this will work. I found out this week that one of our admin is leaving River City for an opportunity elsewhere. And while I'm very excited for this opportunity, I heard that there's a teacher being moved up to fill that position. I'm not sure how some of these actions, and I have a meeting, thankfully Farah is very receptive, and I have a meeting coming up with Farah to talk about them, but I'm not sure how some of these actions work within our collective bargaining agreement. But I'm also further concerned about the optics of allowing an administrator to vacate their contract to go somewhere when we don't do that for certificated staff. Okay, in July, I had like 3 staff that had an opportunity to go somewhere and they were denied because there was no one to fill that position. And the district, and I get this because I believe in this, the position is typically, well, we don't want to leave kids in a lurch. What we're talking about in July. And then recently, I have a colleague that's worked in this district for 20 years. This individual was Teacher of the Year in Yolo County 10 years ago, an amazing teacher. They've run into some health concerns and have a note from their doctor, and they would like to retire early, but they're being told they cannot do so. So my question is, why do we allow an admin to leave our district in the middle of the year? We release them from their contract when we won't do the same for certificated staff. Okay? This is a problem. I absolutely understand that we can't leave kids in a lurch, but we have dedicated teachers who've committed their careers to our district, and we owe them something. So I hope we look a little bit deeper into this issue. All right, I'll go down.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years. An amazing teacher. So listen, it should be the same across the board. That's it. Now, we don't want to impact kids, but I've had people trying to leave in July just after the July 1st date. We should be working really hard to find that opportunity because we want people who want to be here. We want to encourage people to pursue their dreams. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's all. I didn't have a very good ending plan, so ta-da.
Thank you, President Knapp, for your comments, your suggestions, and also sharing your personal story and impact. That now takes us to our public comments this evening. Thank you to those who've given your evening to be here. It looks like we have 7 public comments at this time. And I have a disclaimer that I'm going to read before we do that. But first, after I read this, we will welcome up Sergio Aguilar, and then we'll welcome up Jennifer Ramirez. At our regular board meeting held on February 9th, 2023, the board resolved that written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board and read into the record, but not read during the meeting. So we did receive 2 public comments, both regarding district facilities that we have read and will be in the record. Members of the public may address the board on topics of the board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know that the board is listening to your comments, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time of public input to any topic for 20 minutes, unless it waives the item limit. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the right of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during a public board meeting may be a violation of students' right to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it's important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be an actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy does allow the public to lodge complaints against district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting laws that govern this meeting. Okay, Sergio Aguiar, welcome.
Hello, esteemed school board members. My name is Sergio Aguilar Rudimetkin, and I'm the parent of a 5-year-old boy with special needs, in particular autism. He attends the K through 2 SDC kindergarten classes at Southport Elementary School. I come before you to address the issue of bullying and violence. On Tuesday, October 24th, my son was punched in the face by another student. On Tuesday, October 31st, a week after, my son had his hair pulled by that same boy. 1 week after that, on Tuesday, November 7th, my son was dragged on the ground by the hood of his sweater and pinched. After the first incident, we spoke through an app with my son's teacher. She assured us that steps were being taken to protect my son. After the second incident, my wife and I went to the school in person to talk to the teacher and any administrator about the violence that my son was enduring. We were turned away by the assistant principal because we didn't have an appointment. We later then talked to the teacher. She once again assured us that there were steps being taken to protect my son. After the third incident, we were informed by the school nurse, and I personally had to call the school to talk to the principal. She did not reach out to me to talk about the incident. She assured us once again that steps were being taken. This morning, my wife and I decided that we were not going to let our son go back to school because he did not feel safe. Yesterday morning, the day after the incident, my son with autism that can barely speak said, "No school, no school," said he was sick. He took off the clothes that we had put on him to take him to school. He ran into the bedroom and crawled under the covers to hide. It is clear that these incidents have hurt my son psychologically and physically, and yet it has not been addressed by any of the administration. We also heard this morning about another student in the same class as my son who had been stabbed with the principal. We talked to the parent, and the parent told us that the principal put up barriers for both parents to be present at the same time to address this issue. I request formally that an inquiry be made regarding these incidents immediately, and the people responsible for the safeguarding of the physical and mental well-being of our children be held accountable for either their inactions or their ineffective actions. I thank you for your time and for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Aguiar. And I want to make sure that we will have staff follow up with you and that we have your contact information that you can give to, if you have not already. Make sure that Mario Miramontes has that contact information. Thank you. Okay, Jennifer Ramirez, welcome up, followed by Isabel Mejia.
Thank you, Dr. Hildreth, board members, audience, and colleagues for your time this afternoon. I have worked at the district as a substitute for a few years. This year, I have been hired full-time to work at the district. And in the last 2 months that I worked there, I noticed working conditions that were just far too bad. Last week at the district office, I personally had the unpleasant experience of having literal rats falling from my ceiling above my workspace. I decided to record what I was seeing in the hopes that the community of West Sacramento would understand our plea of needing a new district office location. I understand the concerns that the community members of this city may have against us for relocating due to cost, but enough is enough. We, as the employees of the district, should not tolerate nor condone this type of work environment. These working conditions should not be normalized. A colleague having to deal with pests should not be normalized. Working around rooms that contain asbestos and mold should not be normalized. The history behind the site that the district currently resides is significant, but the building is no longer up to code with these matters. As I speak here in front of everyone, I do not just speak for myself, but I also speak for my colleagues who are in the audience and need someone to voice their concerns. Please be considerate of the workers who may have immunocompromised system, who have to be cautious when they come to work due to fear of seeing vermin or pests, of workers who had to work around vermin feces because of the rodents are roaming around during our workspace, even during business hours. The office of this district should reflect a professional workspace for all of the public who come to us directly. If the public would be aware of these working conditions that we are required to work daily, I can guarantee you themselves would not tolerate it even for a day. I believe that we no longer should debate if we should move. I strongly urge you to move forward with a new location for the district employees. Certain departments may have been temporarily relocated, but a temporary solution to long-term problems will not resolve anything. We are not asking for an extravagant building, but simply asking for a new location that will be up to date with safe working conditions for all employees. Please put yourself in our shoes and truly visualize yourself trying to work in these conditions. As I conclude my comment tonight, please be mindful that you may return to an adequate working environment while the rest of us will have to go back to our offices in those working conditions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. And I want to say this will take us over by a minute, but I'm fine going over by a minute. Just making that clear. We want to allow everybody to have their full time. Isabel, welcome.
Thank you. I'm probably going to repeat a lot of the stuff that has been said already, but I also wanted to voice my say in this. I'm sorry, I just got emotional. I was going to try to, okay. My name is Isabel. I've been with the district for 20 years. I've never complained and never really attended any of the board meetings complaining or anything at all. I love my job. I love working for the district. I admire everything that's always been done here. I'm very committed to my department, my work task, everything that I do. I will work multiple hours when needed. I will not take much time off because I'm a dedicated worker, because I love my job with all my heart. But right here, I'm here now to speak regarding my health and my health issues I've experienced. I need to speak out. A couple of years ago, I was moved office's location to the district, to the front office, where my office is currently still now. And it's where I've experienced unhealthy work environment and work conditions. Since the working in the district office, I have seen mice, heard mice scratching in the walls, droppings in my office area, roaches in my office. It's gotten worse now with rats just nesting right above my working in my ceiling and baby rats dropping through the ceiling. MLT has put several times rat traps, and we've even plugged in sensors to keep them away, but nothing has worked. Last year, a rat died between the walls, and the front office smelled extremely terrible for more than a month. And we were breathing this air, and we were told nothing could be done about it. Also in the summer, the AC sometimes doesn't work, and it's extremely hot in that office. During the winter time, also, there's times when the heater system doesn't work, and it's so cold, our fingertips hurt by typing because it's so cold. We have our heating little system there, but it's not working conditions. I've started a cough sometime in January, and it worsened through the summer. It got so worse in August, but because my job is high demanding in August, I kept working. Through Labor Day, I ended up in the ER. I was hospitalized for a week. Doctors did multiple tests. I have a really bad lung condition now, and I have other health conditions I'm not going to talk about because this is why I'm so sentimental, because I am my health condition has just gotten worse. They've done multiple tests, and my cough is just continues. The doctors don't know why. Like I said, I'm a dedicated worker, and it saddens me that my doctor has put me to work from home, and I can't be with my coworkers there and discuss my work duties with them. I'm just here I'm here to speak to the public and you board members to please listen to us, that this is no longer a healthy work condition area to work at. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. We have Natalie Towns, followed by Rebecca Doria.
I'll be quick. Good evening. Thank you for having me. This is my first time at a board meeting. I'm from the fiscal office. I could be at home doing first interim work, but I chose to come here. Darn it. I'm here to kind of piggyback off what everybody else has said about the district office. I've been there 5 years next week in the business services office. And this has been an ongoing problem since 2021 that I can remember. Yes, last week was traumatic for a lot of people, but in the business office, I met Monique and said, oh my gosh, so nice to have you here. By the way, if there's roaches in your office, we'd be happy to assist you with that. And that was our introduction. That's been our normalcy for the 5 years that I've been there. I've put in several work orders with maintenance and operations. I always got responses, but it was sort of like, our solution is we're gonna have the custodian come over from Yolo in the morning at 7:30 and clean up all the roaches so you guys don't have to. We show up at 8 a.m. and I know they did their job. They came over because I would catch some of them cleaning them up and there'd be more. I'd turn around to help somebody in my cubicle and I don't know if the roach fell from the ceiling, where it came from, but it's like, oh my gosh, don't move, there's a roach. We've also had where we've opened up our cabinet from up above and a mouse has fallen on our keyboard. We have rat traps all over our office. Again, this is normal, and I don't know why we've accepted this for so long. I'm not a pest control at my house. I don't want to be it at my job. I take pride in my work. I work hard. I work evenings. We all do. We dedicate ourselves. We should not be cleaning up roaches. We should not be cleaning up mouse turds. It's not fair to us. It's not fair to the people that come in our office. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Towns. We have Rebecca Doria, followed by Pat Flint.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Rebecca. I'm a secretary at the Washington Unified School District in the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Department. I'm here to discuss the unhealthy working conditions that are currently happening at the district. Since starting at the district, one of the roles as a secretary is to cover our wonderful front desk receptionist Penny on a rotation for at least an hour and 30 to ensure that she receives her proper breaks. On one occasion, I had the unfortunate experience of smelling a very concerning decaying odor that was later identified as decaying rodents that were found behind the printer. On a second occasion, when I was assigned to cover the front desk, I was warned specifically to be aware of the mice droppings that were found on Penny's desk the day before and to just be aware of my surroundings. According to the Department of Health, the Hanta disease virus that Doug was talking about can be found in rodent urine, saliva, feces, which can easily be released in the air, confined spaces when disturbed by rodents or human activities such as sweeping or vacuuming. Breathing the virus is the most common way to getting infected. Lastly, I just want to bring to light that it is not only a certain section of the district office that's concerning, it's the entire district office facility. There's a hole in the multipurpose room where we have public meetings. The pipes from the bathrooms release a foul odor. And there's a room that's condemned from working due to the asbestos, all of which are very, very concerning. As you can see, I'm pregnant. I don't know if some of you can see. Some of you can, some of you can't. I am 29 weeks and have been since starting working, and continue to be concerned for the well-being of myself and now for the health of my baby. With all these possible diseases and the bad air quality. So I hope that the general public are able to understand how unhealthy the district office is, not only for the employees, but for our visitors as well. I hope the district leadership is able to address these concerns by relocating the DO to a healthier environment. I love my job, and I love the people who I'm surrounded by every day, and I only wish the best working conditions for all of us, but this is not okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Doria. Congratulations and thank you. Welcome to Pat Flint, followed by Mario Miramontes.
Frankly, I'm appalled that it's gone this far and that these people had to come and speak before you. You've known of this problem for a long time, and it's immediately has gotten worse, evidently. I blame this board. Ms. Hildreth, I don't know you, but you're the leader of the school district. You immediately need to call an emergency meeting and have these people out of this building as soon as possible. There's room in this district to move them temporarily out to different locations, and when River City is vacated, make sure that it's ready for them to come back as a whole district office again. This is unacceptable. Even when I was on the board, we tried our best, and we didn't have as much money as you have, to abate the asbestos. We didn't have rat problem. But I blame you as a board for not listening to your employees. Kobe, go ahead and smirk. Go ahead. Because it's you guys that are in charge. You are the ultimate last person that these people should really have to come to. This should have been immediately taken care of. I know pest control isn't working. I heard they had pest control there. But you have enough empty spaces in this district. You have a whole school that's being utilized by Yolo County for children. I understand that. But if you need to kick them out of there to put our district office there temporarily, then that needs to be done. And I expect these people to be out of these offices before the first of the year. And that's on you, and I'm sorry. And I'm very upset because these people are great employees. I worked here for a while. I was on the board for a while. It's a community, it's a home, and they should not have to live with these conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Flint, and welcome Mario Miramontes. Who's going to buzz you repeatedly?
I know.
If you don't know me, my name is Mario Miramontes. I serve as the executive assistant to Dr. Hildreth and the governing board here at Washington Unified School District. Members of the board and Dr. Hildreth, I am speaking today as an employee in the district office and as a voice representing my many wonderful colleagues who asked me to just reiterate some of their concerns about the deteriorating conditions of district office facilities. I acknowledge that some of these individuals are attending this evening to show their support for the topic. We convened earlier this week, and I myself, who works at the district office, was unaware of some of the conditions that my colleagues worked in. I'm in a separate wing with Dr. Hildreth, and I realize this goes beyond your tenure. You guys, some of you are new, so I'm thinking if they don't know, if I didn't know, how do I expect my board to know? So I said I'm happy to be the face. I want to express appreciation to you for your leadership, your commitment, because in my almost 3 years here, you have ensured and prioritized our schools. I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking of Isabel, sorry. And I see what you guys do for our students and our schools. I have worked at other districts where they don't listen to the community and they prioritize administration and they prioritize the superintendent. And I'm inspired that you guys always say, you know what, school sites first, let's modernize the school sites. we have celebrated local school achievements, milestones, and hopes because it's not hyperbolic when I say that each of you inspire me in different ways. Woo! Just to be the best version of myself. Because of my position, I get more exposure to all of you than everybody else, and so that's why I'm like, there's like the easiest people to talk to. You guys should just go talk to them. They're nice. I'm the only one that looks scary, you know? And so, but I know that you guys know that I come from a place of shared dedication and respect with hope for a resolution, one that I know this board can approve so that staff may be on a path towards feeling valued and appreciated. I thank you for all your previous considerations and all the significant steps you have taken over the years for school site improvements. And though challenging at times, I have also seen conversations and considerations improving the state of our office. With that said, after last week's unprecedented incident, we ask that you just remain steadfast in your commitment and keep this momentum moving forward, because I feel like I know you when we're not in a formal setting, and I know your heart, and I have that privilege and a different lens of each of you. And so let's just fix this so we can focus on what matters most, and that is supporting our students. Thank you so much.
President Kirby Gonzalez, I just like to say we have a facilities subcommittee meeting next Monday. So if anybody would like to come out, I think that would be, December 6th. Wait a minute. Why is it on my calendar as that? Never mind. Never mind. Sorry. December 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Miramontes, for speaking, and thank you for everybody for speaking. And it's very important to hear your voices. We have known that there are facility concerns. That's why there's been, this topic has been coming up in facility committees with us, but the level that it is escalated to is completely unacceptable. And so the district staff worked to make short-term plans and has been working to move staff immediately. And as plans are shared, know that the board is committed to coming to those meetings as well, and working with times where we can be there. This week, the emergency meeting was in the morning. I too work at a school site. And so sometimes know that we are coordinating and talking, but we cannot always be there. But we will work on plans moving forward, and you have absolutely been heard. Okay, that's going to take us now into our public hearings, and we do have two this evening. So we have our public hearing, number 1, regarding the sunshine of the bargaining proposal for Washington Unified School District and the California School Employees Association, CSEA, and its review chapter for number 168 for successor contract negotiations. Welcome to Interim Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. And I should say too, happy long weekend to all of those who are going in Veterans Day. To begin your week. All right, welcome.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, trustees, Dr. Hildreth. This item is a public hearing, as you stated, for sunshine proposal for WUSD and CSEA successor contract negotiation. The board must hold a public hearing to take action with regards to the sunshine in order for the negotiation process to begin. CSEA is proposed to open 17 articles, as it states in the attached proposal. WUSD is proposed to open 4 of the 17 articles in alignment with CSEA. Those articles are Article 11, leaves, Article 15, transportation, Article 18, salary and compensation, and finally, Article 19, unit member benefits.
Okay, thank you. We are going to open this public hearing officially, and I do not see any public comments. Thank you. Any board comments? Okay, and we are going to close this public hearing. And we have our public hearing number 2, which is our public hearing regarding the sunshine of the bargaining proposal for both Washington Unified School District, WSD, and the West Sacramento Teachers Association, WSTA. Again, that is with Farah Ubdallah, our interim assistant superintendent of human resources.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez. This is a public hearing for a sunshine proposal between WSTA and WUSD for negotiation. The board must hold a public hearing and take action with regards to the sunshine in order for the negotiation process to begin. WSTA has proposed to open 4 articles, as it states in their attached proposal. WUSD proposes to open 2 articles in alignment with WSTA. Article 17, compensation, and Article 18, unit member benefit.
Thank you. We are officially opening this public hearing, and I do not see any board comment or any public comments. Are there any board comments? Okay, seeing none, then we will close this public hearing.
Thank you.
All right, then that takes us to our only information discussion item this evening. This is our overview of our school district bonds, and that is with our Chief Business Officer, Monique Stovall. Welcome.
Good evening. This evening, I'm joined with our financial advisor representative, Blake Beam, thank you, to present an information item that's covering generally how bonds work, and then an overview of our bond projects here in Washington Unified. Next slide. Sam Santana from DWK, our legal counsel, also helped create this presentation, but unfortunately is not able to be here this evening. So Blake and I will be presenting this topic. Next slide. The purpose and overview. As I shared, we'll provide an overview specifically of general obligation bonds. We'll cover California school bonds. We'll cover the bond issuance process, servicing bonds, and then also our district's bond program and projects. Next slide. We always want to start with alignment to our strategic. And bonds help everything we do. It supports our students, it supports our staff, it supports our buildings, and all of our efforts to do great things for students. Next slide. And then, of course, it aligns with all aspects of our strategy. Next slide. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Blake to begin the presentation.
Thanks, Monique. It's good to see everybody. I'll try to be quick, but I do encourage questions either along the way or at the end, either. So just moving ahead, or should I use?
If you want to roll the dice and see if it works, we can.
Okay. Give it a
works.
shot. Maybe.
Try. Maybe not.
Oh, there.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to get started, really focusing on the fact, our acknowledgement that school facilities do require a significant investment, financial investment, both when the initial construction starts, but also on an ongoing basis. And the current funding streams that are available to California school districts are really not consistent or equitable with regard to what the costs actually are to maintain facilities at the levels that 21st century learning is expected to take place. Those revenue streams could be examples of the state facilities funding program. It's supposed to be a match program with 50%, or for modernization, even up to 60%. It's at nowhere near those levels. It's closer to a third. Developer fees coming in, while those should be directed towards new facilities, they're intended to be a 50% coverage. In some cases, it's nowhere near that. So because of those reasons, local general obligation bonds become a significant factor in today's day and age in funding both new construction and modernization of school facilities. A general obligation bond is a voter-approved ballot initiative, which ultimately is repaid by property taxpayers. When voters are asked to approve a bond measure, they are not only approving a dollar amount or bond authorization amount, which a school district can issue bonds to fund their facilities, but they're also approving a tax rate that is associated with that bond measure, as well as specific project improvements that these monies will be directed towards. So for Washington Unified, the most recent being Measure Z, which voters approved in November of 2020 at over 60% approval rate. It authorized $150 million, which we brought the last resolution, I think at the very last meeting, for the second series of $50 million. There's been some great work so far, and looking forward to seeing what staff and the board is able to accomplish with the remainder of Measure Z. So kind of moving off of, once a ballot measure is approved, what happens then? And so usually, and I talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, there's incremental issuances from the bonds that are authorized by voters. It's usually not sold all at one time. There's specific project planning that takes place and cash flow alignment, and then staff usually is making a recommendation for board's approval on a specific issuance amount, which is what we approved with the Series B bonds. So that's really outlined in that first step, the issuance timeline. Usually the bond advisor, myself, legal counsel, other consultants work very closely with staff to develop a very specific timeline that will take place, usually focused around governance approval, and then ultimately pricing the bonds and the issuance itself, or the closing, which I'll get to. So I mentioned step 2 a little bit about the resolution approval. I think that that's, kind of most tangible at the very last meeting, where the board was presented with a resolution that outlined, in that case, it was the Series B bonds for $50 million, and the board, in every case, is presented with a bond issuance resolution before bonds are actually sold. From there, staff, including Dr. Hildreth, has been involved. Certainly Ms. Stovall has been involved in a rating process. That's a requirement of the marketplace, where a credit rating needs to be assigned to the bonds in order to allow really the marketplace or potential investors to evaluate what the credit quality is of the bonds and what interest rate they're willing to purchase the bonds in return for their investment. So it's a critical process, and I will say that the district has done a phenomenal job to date securing what's a AA2 rating for Washington Unified bonds. It's their GeoBond rating, which for a non-community funded, non-large kind of coastal community district is an extremely high rating. It's 2 notches below the very highest rating, which is AAA. So that effort has certainly proved to help secure the lowest possible borrowing cost for Washington Unified bonds, and is a commendable effort. This graphic we thought would be helpful for the community and board, just to see really how kind of the flow of funds work when a bond issue goes forward. So the district, as we've discussed, really mobilizes to sell bonds. But once the board approves a resolution and you can go to market, the $50 million for the Series B bonds was actually priced earlier this week by an underwriting bank. The underwriting bank offers to purchase the bonds at a specific interest rate. That underwriting bank will then redistribute all of the individual bonds. There's a series of different maturities that take place from year 0, which is where we're at, 2023, 24, and goes all the way out 30 years. And so investors will purchase all of those bonds at a very specific rate from the underwriting bank. And the interest rate that ultimately is paid by district taxpayers is that aggregate rate that the underwriter ultimately purchases the bonds at. So you can see in the graphic, the bonds are ultimately given to the underwriter, allocated to the underwriter, which then distributes to investors. The underwriting bank then provides the specific dollar amount or purchase price of the bonds to the district. Those dollars are then used for a facility project. And then the last step is really the closing process, which really concludes the sale of bonds. There's a series of documents that are signed by district, by the underwriter, and by various participants in the process to effectuate the bond sale. And at the time the bonds are successfully closed, funds are then wired over to the appropriate accounts that are held by the county, and those monies are then available to the district for requisition for future project needs. So I'll just pause there just on the steps. Are there any questions right now on just kind of the flow of dollars, the steps involved in the issuance process?
So just curious, and I think I heard you say something about developer fees. So you shouldn't rely on developer fees to fund a bond? Is that what you're suggesting?
So developer fees should be relied on to fund an available portion of facility projects.
Right.
The problem, or kind of what I had alluded to, is that the amount that developer fees are able to fund is not enough to meet the construction costs to actually do the work.
Especially when development stops.
Especially when development stops. So there needs to be other supplemental sources or revenue streams that a school district must rely on in order to accomplish their facility improvement goals.
Thank you.
I'm asking, can he share after the issuance, what's the next step? Where does that or the document?
Yeah, so once the bonds are sold, I mentioned the funds themselves are actually held at the county, where the other district funds are held. And so as the cash flow needs arise, district staff will requisition funds for payment on specific project needs. I'll get to in terms of the ongoing management of repayment of the bonds. So now you have a bunch of different investors that are holding their own specific investment. There's a paying agent bank that is the responsible party that will ultimately receive the property tax collections from the community and make debt service payments to the respective investors on a semi-annual basis. So that occurs for GEO bonds. It's typically February 1 and August 1 of every year. And so that paying agent bank manages that process in concert with the county. So the county is really a centerpiece for a lot of the general obligation bond functions, with the district holding their obligations for facilities and ensuring that the debt is structured appropriately. The county really being involved in the collection of taxes, the assignment of the tax rates, and ultimately transferring the funds that are available to the paying agent bank that will pay the investors over time. Additionally, one of the requirements, an ongoing requirement through the life of a bond measure, is independent bond audits and oversight by volunteers within the community, both of which were established from legislation, Proposition 39, and are unavoidable as a requirement of a bond measure. And I'm sure members from this board have seen in the past annual financial and performance audits associated with not only Measure Z, but the district's prior measures. Those audits are conducted by an independent party and presented to ensure that the monies are being spent appropriately and according to the ballot project list and parameters that voters approved. Additionally, there is a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, again, a group of volunteers within the community that will meet regularly and ensure that they are seeing what the plans are, what the costs are, what the allocation of bond dollars are, and able to have a voice to report back to the board, either with agreement on how a bond implementation is going, or to the contrary, if they don't think it's going as planned, they have that voice, a very important voice, as part of that Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. So how bonds are paid. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on this, answering a very pointed question, but I think a good one. The county does serve as really a centerpiece in a lot of different ways in managing general obligation bonds, with different departments at the county having different roles. So the Auditor Controller's Office are the ones that annually will establish the tax rates on all taxable property within the district for purposes of repaying the bonds. Whereas the County Board of Supervisors, their role is to approve those tax rates when presented annually by their Auditor Controller's Office. So there is an opportunity for that governance team to review tax rates, understand them, and ultimately approve them before they're put on the tax roll. And then the County Treasurer Tax Collector's Office are the ones that really lead up the effort to collect the property taxes and ensure that there are sufficient funds on hand to transfer over to the paying agent bank to pay off the debt service to investors. So all three very critical roles, but for purposes of general obligation bonds, having very different functions. And then we just wanted to make sure that refinancing or refunding bonds was brought up in this topic. It's not a requirement of Washington Unified to refinance debt, but it has been something that this district has been very proactive in years past, looking at opportunities to lower the interest cost of district taxpayers. It's not too unlike refinancing your home mortgage, with the key difference being when you refinance general obligation bond debt, you cannot extend the term beyond the initial term that it was originally issued. The sole purpose is to lower the borrowing cost and reduce the interest burden over the life of the bonds. And in past refunding efforts, the district has saved taxpayers millions of dollars through refunding efforts. And that's something that we continuously monitor on a regular basis. We're in a bit of a higher interest rate environment now, so I don't see any immediate refunding opportunities, but we'll be sure to bring them as a recommendation to the board when we think it's appropriate. Any questions on refunding, functions of county role?
I have a question. So bond refunding, it's not like I'm going to be getting a refund. I'm not going to get money back.
You will not be getting money back as a property taxpayer, but you will see there'll be an incremental reduction in your specific property tax bill. And whether or not you notice it or not, it will be there. And usually the millions that are saved is on an aggregate that's spread amongst all property taxpayers in the community. So for you, you might save a couple bucks a year or $5 a year, which over time, you'll save something of significance. But the real notable effort is for the bond issuance as a whole, you're able to reduce that fixed interest cost by whatever it is, several $1 million over the full life of the loan.
For everybody.
For everybody.
Okay.
Go ahead. Finish.
No, because I might have more questions if you have questions.
You might get this then. So based on one of your previous slides, the school district, once the bond is passed, has zero to do with tax collection.
That's correct. I will say one of the things that we've encouraged within Yolo County is the school district to have a little bit more of a role in reviewing the tax rates and engagement, some more collaboration in the process of setting tax rates, which has not really been, there hasn't really been an opportunity provided up to this point. And I think that the county offices heard the district staff and team loud and clear that they stand to benefit from having our eyes review. This is something that we're very acutely focused on year over year. And so it's only helpful to allow us the opportunity to review and confirm that the tax rates that they're setting are in fact aligned with the debt service structures when we sell bonds. So I hope moving forward that they will have heard those voices that we've expressed and will be receptive.
So with that, I guess my next question is there, I mean, they're hearing our voice. Do they have a plan of how they may incorporate us into that? Because it seems like the 3 branches that they have, I call them branches within the county, the auditor control, the board of supervisors, and the collectors. Would this be something that we would be doing with the auditor controller in the beginning phases to make sure that that is something that we agree upon of what we would want to collect from our community members before it gets approved?
The way I've seen it work well in other county establishments is, yes, there's a process. Usually it takes place in midsummer where the auditor controller's office is starting their calculations based on the preliminary assessed values for the upcoming year. So there's a lot of data inputs, so their job is not easy by any means, but that's when they start their process in early to midsummer. And usually by end of July, early August, they have their preliminary tax rate calculations available. And that would be an opportunity or a time frame when they could share those preliminary tax rate calculations with district staff, who would then, of course, pass them along to K&N as the district's bond advisor to review and ensure that the tax rate calculations are aligned with what our own models and analysis suggest they should be at. And so there could be that window of opportunity could be collaborative and provide either sign off or recommendations on changes before they ultimately take the tax rate calculations to the County Board of Supervisors for approval, which usually might happen in the September, early October timeframe before property tax bills are distributed. So I hope come summer of 2024 that there's lines of communication open with the county offices in that respect.
Good. Okay, thank you.
So the last piece, Monique and I wanted to focus specifically on Washington Unified's bond program, just to make sure that everyone's abundantly clear on what debt is outstanding, what terms are still remaining for repayment, and answer any questions that you may have. So just starting with a summary of all of the voter-approved general obligation bond measures going back to the late 90s. There's been continued support, strong support to improve district facilities, which is, one of the storylines that I think this slide shows. The district has spent all of the monies from the 3 older bond measures, with Measure Z being the active measure at this point. There was $150 million authorized, which I mentioned early on. With the recent issuance of the Series B bonds earlier this week, there's $40 million of authorized bond monies available that have yet to be issued. And there would be, once we close later this month, there will be a new influx of $50 million as a result of this week's successful sale. So as a brief recap, for the 99 Measure R, voters authorized, it was $17.5 million. There's a little over $5.7 million remaining, which will be fully paid off in 2031. The district has refinanced this debt 3 separate times for interest cost savings for taxpayers. You can see in the graph below what our projected tax rates are expected to be next year and through the life of that specific measure. And we move to 2004 Measure Q, which voters authorized $52 million, of which there's a little over $15.1 million remaining, which will again be fully paid off in 2031. The district has refinanced these bonds twice for interest cost savings, and the tax rates there you can see in the graph at the bottom left are expected to remain in the future below $60.
Can I ask a question on this?
Please.
And, to make it clear, I appreciate you explaining the refunding as well and how we've worked to reduce costs for our taxpayers. Can you speak to the bond structure? Because I know this structure looks different than others, and maybe speak to the debt and the interest and how that works.
Yeah, I'm glad. That's a great question to ask. So the structure was a little bit different for 2004 Measure Q. And while that predated, KNN's time with the district, we are very familiar with how these bonds were structured. And so there was really a combination of financing tools that were sold, one of which is a more traditional current interest bond, which pays principal and interest each year, certainly considered the more traditional or common financing structure for local school bond measures. Additionally, there were capital appreciation bonds, which are bonds that have deferred payments where there is actually no interest or principal paid for a certain period of time. And that deferred payment allows for assessed values to grow and the tax rates that are committed to stay lower for the front end until the valuation within the district gets to a point where the taxing capacity is greater. And so the new bond payments or the deferred payments can kick in. In the early to mid 2000s, when capital appreciation bonds were sold, in that period, most times they were sold as non-callable bonds, meaning that you could not refinance capital appreciation bonds. They weren't marketable when they could be refinanced. Because of the deferred payments, investors in those types of bonds wanted to ensure that their investment would be realized through its maturity, and that's why they were sold as non-callable bonds. So, if I'm not mistaken, in 2015 and 2012 and 2015, the district seized opportunities to refinance the portions of the bonds that were callable or that could be refinanced. And those are the current interest bonds that paid the principal and interest. And the district took that opportunity and did that. But it did leave behind an unrefunded portion of those original bond sales, being the capital appreciation bonds, which had debt service that was deferred and would start kicking in roughly the 23 timeframe. So kind of going back to, I think, some of the, enlightened conversations that at least, I came privy to with the county, I think that for this particular bond measure, some of their calculations in recent years did not take into consideration the unrefunded bonds that existed from those original 2004 and 2006 timeframes. And it's my understanding therein lies the problem with some of the calculations in their recent years, that they had cleared out the reserve accounts for those particular, for the 2004 Measure Q authorization, and then had to rebuild those very quickly and suddenly once they figured out that there was still debt service obligations outstanding. And so that has resulted in tax rates that were far different than, at least within our models, what we would have calculated and expected to see.
Thank you. And so, like you, we're not here in 2004, neither were any members of this board currently. And so the structure with that deferred payment that this particular bond was approved with, that structure. Are our other bonds, my understanding is they do not have that.
They do not.
And so the bonds that we have passed have not had a deferred payment that have gotten us.
Yeah, Measure Z has been sold solely as current interest bonds paying principal and interest, and the final
Measure
series.
Q.
Sorry?
Or Measure V, right? Well, Measure V is that same way?
Yeah, I'll go to the next slide and go to Measure V as well, both of which were sold as current interest bonds. They are able to be refinanced. They do pay interest and principal each year. So you are absolutely correct.
Thank you.
So for Measure V, these bonds will probably be the next candidates for a potential refunding when interest rates, present an opportunity to do so. But for the time being, of the $48 million that voters authorized, there's still just under $44 million outstanding. The final payment of these bonds goes out to 2042. And you can see based on the debt service outstanding, the tax rates are expected to remain at or below $30 per 100,000. So below what voters authorized. And hopefully we can get it even lower than that if we can refinance. And then lastly is the 2020 Measure Z, still in the implementation of these bonds. The Series A bonds sold in June of 2021 for the first 60 million, of which there's a little over 51.5 million outstanding. The final payment for those bonds is 2051. And then with the most recent sale, the Series B bonds were again priced this week and for 50 million, and those will also have a final repayment in 2051. And in the graph at the bottom left, you can see how we've structured these bonds. So for next year's tax rate, we would expect it to be just under $60. And then you can see it drops down pretty significantly thereafter. And the reason being is because we're anticipating layering in the final debt service structure for the Series C bonds. So there'll be tax rates that are somewhere between that $50 and $60 range, but certainly below $60 is what we're structuring it to be. Any questions on these specific features?
Yeah, I can finally see where my frustration would be as a voter, and why I'm seeing bonds, because I hear people saying should be at $60 or should be at, we said $60 or we said $40, and I'm seeing 2,000 because it's per 100,000. And I don't think that that really is explained clearly. And so I, as a voter, and I'm seeing things, I'm like, oh, it's only going to be $60. I can do that. Then I get my tax bill and it's 200 or 2,000. And I'm like, what will happen to the $60? Oh, but that's just because it's per 100. Why don't you actually tell me what it really is going to be instead of saying 60 per 1,000 when I have a $50 million, $550 million? It's actually, this is what your amount is going to be. It's very misleading, extremely misleading, especially for some of us who are not very financially savvy with numbers. So yeah, I see it and I'm not very happy. I get it, it's for the kids. We're doing that, but I mean, part of it is just, it's verbiage. It's just how it's being presented. And
there's an opportunity moving forward with our lessons learned. So I really appreciate you sharing. And so when we think about community bonds or COP, or even just our financial reports, we have a first interim coming forward, is really working to make it the information understandable to everyone. And even having thought partners review the information we're sharing to help us make sure that it's understanding for everyone.
And I think, I'll just speak to, I think that speaks to our passing of the bond, not the presentation here. And so the language that was passed on this bond, like all bonds, school board members, they agree to in a resolution, and then it goes to committees outside of a board in the public to run those campaigns. But the wording was $60 per 100,000. Prior to that, it was the $40 per 100,000. So the issue is that people don't know what your house is assessed at, but you can't be paying $2,000 because that would be over a $3 million house. Well, I guess you could be. I mean, if we, I don't know. If
Not
$3 million.
in this city.
Not that I know of in the city. So I think one issue.
Other bonds that are our bonds.
Yes, yeah, and there's other, and then there's also the Los Rios bonds and other places like that. But in terms of this, our statement was accurate in terms of what we said we would do on our end, not that it happened with the county's end, but it was supposed to be, and what we approved is no more than $60 per 100,000. So if your house is assessed at, $200,000 would be $120. If it's $300,000, so in that range. So thank you for saying that in your heard. I just wanted to share that that language was, would have been the going out for the bond language to the voters, but not.
It was in the ballot.
Our present in the ballot, not our folks here that help us with this one.
And for what it's worth, the reason that nomenclature is used, the per 100,000, ties back to the legislative requirements for schools. That's how it needs to be presented to voters. But I do understand what you're saying where, what do I pay? What is the real number that I pay?
So if your house is $500,000 in assessed value, then you're going to pay $300 per year.
For Measure Z. And
for Measure Z. That's just Measure Z.
Right. So I just think that is definitely something that typical voters, and I am a typical voter, I don't understand that. So for me, I'm looking at something that's on my ballot, and I have to do research on what it is that I'm going to be voting on, because I don't want taxes sometimes. If I can avoid it, I see something for the kids and I'm like, sure, why not? And then later on, because I do it with my own kids, I'm like, sure, why not? But in the end, I'm like, why did I buy that? They don't even use it anymore. But for me, if for future, it would be great if it can be explained. And because I really think we make a lot of assumptions that people understand this language and we don't. That's my little 2 cents. I'm probably not going to be here for the next bond.
I was just going to say, to be fair, we don't have any bonding capacity for
I know,
a
I'm probably not going to be here, but when I want it to be noted, it would be great for the future.
And there was a big surprise, as we know, with the county situation of being very much overcharged of what we said was going to happen. And so, and we don't want that.
Thank you. So continuing from our bond program to our bond project, we wanted to take a moment to review the projects from the bond. So in 1999, it was our Measure R bond, and the projects completed, the major projects completed with that bond included what was then called the River City High School, which is now our Clarendon campus. That was the gym floors and the 2-story building. At that time, we also did some modernization to the Yellow Education Center. In 2004, the bond was focused on our River City High School, and here's an aerial footage of it at that particular. More recently, with our Measure V bond, many projects and many improvements to our sites have been made. Here I listed just a few of the major ones, but we also had heating and air improvements, gutter improvement, that were marquees improvements, a whole bunch of different projects that were able to touch almost everyone, if not every single one of our schools. Here I highlighted our Bright Phase 1 and Phase 2 with our culinary improvement, and then of course our Fallbrook Homecoming, also known as our Westmore Oak project. Next, currently, we are moving forward with our Measure Z project. If you've driven by the Westfield area, you can see that we have walls going up now. It's just, there's a lot of construction over there, and it's really exciting. We also are kicking off our Elkhorn Village modernization. At our last meeting, you approved the architect, and we are setting up our meetings with them so we can begin that project with the input from the school side and the community, so we can really continue to do wonderful things for our students. Next, we will be working on the architect request for proposals for our Performing Arts Center. And that project will take a little bit longer because a Performing Arts Center, we're starting from scratch, and just the construction and what's in that type of building is quite different from what's in a regular school site. So that's a review of our project. This time we thank you and are open for questions.
Very exciting seeing what's happening with our site. So we do have public comments right now, so we'll ask you to stay close, but we will invite them up, and then I'm sure that we'll have some more board comments as well. I currently have 2 public comments, but if anybody else is in the audience and would like to fill out a public comment, now would be the time to do it, because after public comment closes, then it will be board comment. So if you would like to do that, you can come on up to the side. We have Pat Flint, followed by Danny Langford. Welcome, Pat Flint.
Things getting old. It's shaky. I was hoping to see, along with this bond explanation, it was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. It explained a lot. I was hoping to see the COP breakdown and what we owe on those, and balloon payments. You know, we keep hearing about balloon payments. Are those balloon payments on the COPs? Are they on the bonds? Although I didn't see it in this presentation, so I'm assuming they're on the COPs. Because adding up the debt of what we owe on the bonds, it's $273,063,081. That's a lot of money that we still owe on bonds for this little community. Granted, our schools were old. I was on the board when we built the first school in 40 years, and that was Southport Elementary. And I'm proud of that, but it took a lot of work. We had redevelopment money to pay for part of it. We also did a land swap. So all of these, including bonds and state bonding, it's a circle, and it's hard. But the COPs, I feel, were unnecessary. The high school was not kept in budget, even though we paid for the land up front. And that caused the school board at the time to go out for loans, personal loans. And they put some of the district's property up for collateral. So I'd like to know which properties are up for collateral, along with these COP debts. And if my math is correct, I got this out of what I call the Bible, the facilities plan, because it was a well-constructed plan for this district. I happened to sit on the committee. The committee worked very hard because we want premium schools. The community needs premium schools. We need to be proud of this district. We need to be able to see other districts and our district at the same levels, and we're not there, and it's discouraging and upsetting, especially for a grandmother who has grandchildren in this district. And I went to this district, and my sons went to this district. That's 3 generations. And it's just, I go by the schools and I see the weeds, and I addressed that at the last meeting, but I know things will get better. but it's going to be a long haul, and this district can't go out for any more GO bonds at the present time. Let's hope building doesn't get out of sight and we wound up trying to find room for all these kids in this district. Right now, you do have a lot of room. It's a matter of coordinating programs and putting them in the right places so that you can move the district offices into a place that we are not going to have to pay $90,000 a month. So the total debt, I'll just read this very quickly, is $365,063,063,081. So it's a lot of money, and we need to start taking things seriously here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flint. Danny Langford.
Height changes. First of all, I hope this was not the community workshop or whatever you were going to do for the community on bonds, and to try to get the community diffused a little bit about how upset we all are about the mess up, whether it was had to do with the school district, the county, it doesn't matter. You're never going to pass another bond with as riled up as people are. And for you to say, Kobe, that development has stopped, no, it hasn't. Look on Jefferson, there's big apartment going in, there's places going up all around me, so I know development hasn't stopped. Developer fees aren't enough, I get that. First of all, in 1999, way more was done than the 3 projects that were put up there, way more. I was there, I remember it. Pat was actually on the board, she could tell you all about the projects. Also, the 2004 bond that's been a huge mess for all of us. It is not, we are not being charged up to no more than $60 per $100. We are being charged $90 per 100,000 on Measure Z. So how can we say in that slide the tax rates are anticipated to remain at or below $60 per 100,000? Because that's not what we're paying right now. My tax bill doesn't reflect that. Does yours? Have you guys looked at it? And it also said are expected to be below $60 per 100,000 for that measure. That's not happened. Why? Measure V. I went to a lot of those bond oversight committee meetings. My husband was on that is on that committee, and I'm here to tell you, because I was at all the bond oversight committee meetings when the high school was put in for Measure Q, and those people are given the information after the fact. They are not asked for their opinion beforehand. Very rarely has that happened. Trust me. The rec center was never supposed to be part of our bond. That was supposed to be paid for the city separately. And I can share with you all that information, that history, because I was in the middle of it, 5 years straight in the middle of it. What else was I was going to ask about the balloon payments also, and the COP debt. That needs to be shown to the community what our whole debt is. You need to be, you always guys talk about honesty and transparency. Let's put it on the table. This is what our bond is. This is what our COPs are. This is what we're going to do about it. And again, I'm all for getting people out of rat-infested, roach-infested things. First of all, you need to look at better pest control, obviously. But we cannot afford to move out of our district property when we have so many places that we could move those people. Alice Norman is a great suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Langford. Okay, open now to the board for any board comments. Any board comments here? Okay. Okay. I want to thank you for putting this together. A few things. One is I'm hoping that we can add this to the district website under the bonds so it's easy to access all this information. People could look up individually some of the bonds, although not all of them were on there, because if they didn't have a bond oversight committee, then we didn't have some of the documentation. So I appreciate that you have all this now together, and I'm hoping it can go right on our bond page as well. And then if we can have a follow-up to the comment on, which is separate from this, but maybe if you can update us later, if you know the understanding of properties under collateral. I've not heard that before. And so if we should just have a follow-up with us on that. And then if you may want to speak, I don't know, Ms. Stovall, to the balloon payment comments, if those are referring to one of our bonds. I thought that that was maybe with the deferred bond that sometimes those comments were made. So if you want to speak to that now, or if we can.
I would need to research that more. And
Okay, all right. Yes.
Can you please educate me on what COPs are?
Sure. First and foremost, they are a non-voter approved debt, and they stand for certificate of participation. I'll ask Blake to go into the details.
Yeah, so certificates of participation are utilized by California school districts as that form of non-voter approved debt. The debt is sold with the general fund ultimately being the backstop for repayment, although typically there are dedicated sources of repayment, whether it be RDA, pass-through payments, developer fees, sale of assets, sites, surplus sites. So it could be a variety of things. And usually they are also funded to improve facilities. And usually school districts will utilize that type of lease financing or non-voter approved debt financing rather than asking the community. They feel that they have these combination of revenue streams that they could access by leveraging, out into the future and raising a pretty good sum of money for a project rather than asking the community. And so within Washington Unified, based on the debt profile, there are general obligation bonds outstanding and there are COPs outstanding, meaning that the district really has tried to utilize, every aspect of possible facilities funding for improvements. This presentation tonight was primarily focused on the general obligation bond.
Add to that, our certificate of participations are COPs. We are paying those off with our developer fees, which is a little bit of money we get whenever someone, whether it's a business or a homeowner, does any building, they pay us impact fees or developer fees. The RDA revenue that Blake referred to is redevelopment agency revenue. It's a bit of a tax type revenue that we receive to be able to support development efforts here in our.
Okay. I'm sure you see the my brain is trying to understand. Not like going out doing a bake sale.
No.
I'm just trying to figure out how we're getting, so this is money based off of the buildings that are coming up, and then we get a little percentage of that.
COPs are not paid for by property taxes.
So
they're paid
not.
for by district funds, facility dollars that the district has coming in.
And the general funds come from?
Okay. So COPs are a type of, it's basically like a loan that we receive. And districts, just like we're at home, we pay the loan with our regular income. It's the taxpayers don't repay that debt.
We do.
District, yes, the district pays the debt. And what I wanted to share for our COPs here in our district, our general fund money, we're not at this point, thankfully, using our general fund money to pay off our COPs, our loans. We're using primarily our developer fees that we receive, pay those loans, which is it's a good thing that we're not using the general fund.
Okay.
I'm wondering, I know you have done this in the past, just another presentation coming back on the COPs, just so that we can dig deep into it. And so it's kind of like it's essentially a line of credit against our income. Right. And so, but I think the public also would benefit as requested, just transparency around that. And I know you've done that before and it's always a good presentation. So I suggest that. No. It's important. And I think it's just, it'd be helpful to see the numbers. And I hear staff saying we need to just be really clear on the numbers. So you don't want to kind of talk from air. So really getting clear on the debt and the specifics on the.
Do we have an idea what our COPs were running in terms of interest?
I would have to get that in.
Didn't we
be
do
able to make
some
that accurate.
refinancing of our COPs?
Some of the COPs were issued under a federally subsidized program, Qualified School Construction Bond,
Right.
so it's actually got a very favorable interest rate. But I think, to Ms. Stovall's point, I think when we come back with some more information specific to the COPs, we'll be sure to make sure that we touch on all of the outstanding rates associated with.
Because I distinctly recall when Mr. Malpanitas was here, we refinanced some interest rates down considerably, that it saved the district around $1.2 million to $1.4 million, because we were paying that out of our general fund. And so that was a savings that would have been several employee jobs that, in downtimes, which we were facing, the reason why we did that. So that's just for a little historical why we made some changes.
Certainly look.
Okay. Okay, all right, well, thank you for that. And then also following up with a suggestion and ensuring that we are working with the county because clearly we need to. And so we expect that you had said midsummer to work with the county of 2024. And so if we can, maybe we need to put that on the agenda this summer, be thinking about that, how we can have a brief update to make sure for our oversight that that's happening so that there's, again, no surprises ever again with our name attached to it in people's mailboxes with texts. So thank you, Mr. Bohum, for being here and giving your. Okay. So that now takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? And if not, can I have a motion to approve?
I move.
Thank you. Thank you. Moved by Vice President Wong, seconded by Trustee Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you. All right, we are now going to officially approve of the Sunshine Bargaining Proposal for Washington Unified School District and the California School Employees Association, CSEA, and its review Chapter 168 for the successor contract of negotiations. That's with Farah Ubadada. I'm going to keep working on this. I'm very sorry. Will you help me with your last name so I make sure I say it correctly?
Absolutely. It's Ubadullah.
Okay. I'm going to keep working on it and keep correcting me
You're
on it.
fine.
Badullah. Okay, our interim assistant superintendent of human resources. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez, members of the board, Dr. Hildreth. Earlier this evening, the public hearing was held regarding the Sunshine proposal between WUSD and CSEA for successor contract negotiation. This time, we are seeking board approval for WUSD proposal to begin the negotiation process.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. Oh, thank you for that. I had no public comment. I want to make sure. No public. Okay, thank you. All right, then can I get a motion to approve?
I move.
Second. Third.
One of the boys.
Fourth.
Motioned by Vice President Wong, seconded by Trustee Venegas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you. So that now takes us to the approval of the Sunshine Bargaining Proposal for Washington Unified School District and the West Sacramento Teachers Association. That's WSTA. Again, Farah Ubada, right, our interim assistant superintendent of human resources. I'm going to keep working. I know. I'm going to keep working on it.
No worries at all. Thank you. Again, earlier this evening, a public hearing was held regarding the Sunshine proposal for WUSD and WSTA. This time, we are seeking board approval for WUSD, a proposal for beginning the negotiation process.
Okay, and I do not have any public comment, any board comments. Okay, can we have a motion? All right, so moved by Trustee Venegas, seconded by Vice President Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That now takes us to the approval of the amendment number 3 of our Memorandum of Understanding between the Yolo County Office of Education and Washington Unified School District for the STEM project at Alice Norman Education Center, and that's with our Chief Business Officer, Monique Stovall.
Thank you. Since July 1, 2020, the Washington Unified School District has been collaborating with the Yolo County Office of Education to be able to have the Head Start and state preschool blended programs at the Alice Norman campus. This amendment is amendment number 3. The first amendment was to install and remove the heating and air to make sure that our children there could be comfortable. The second amendment was to improve the facility to provide a courtyard, and that was a cost of $10,000. And this third amendment is to improve the STEM play area by one of the classrooms, completely at the Yolo County Office of Education's expense. And so we ask your approval for amendment number 3 to our memorandum of understanding with the Yolo County Office of Education.
Great, thank you. And I do not see any public comment. And I think on process, this is a quick board comment in terms of would this be something that would go to the facility committee with third-party organizations coming in and looking at facilities. So that's a question on process that I'm just asking to all of you. I'm supportive of this move forward, but do you think in the future on pieces like this, would you like them to come to the facility committee?
Go ahead, Al. No, you, man. I'm listening. Yeah, no, I would have no problem with it coming to the facilities committee since it is a third-party vendor paying for something. The third party entering into an agreement to pay for something on our properties, that's fine. If you want to add that as another item that goes onto the facilities subcommittee. I don't feel like this particular one, since it's YCOE in particular, since that's another governmental entity that's paying for something to come onto our property. So with that, I would say for this, I don't have a problem with this particular one.
I'm supportive of it too. I think on process, though, in the future, maybe if we have a space, especially if a third party is using it, that on process could go there.
Sure.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, then with that, if there's no discussion, then can we have a motion?
Al, did you have anything? No.
Okay. So moved by Clerk Coffey, seconded by Trustee Venegas. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you. All right, so this is the approval of our rec center pool deck repair and the tennis court lights and the storm drain installation. And again, Monique Stovall, our Chief Business Officer.
Thank you. We have a joint use agreement for the recreation center next to our River City High School. In that agreement, it requires board approval by our board and the city's board for any repairs over $10,000. At this time, the city and district have determined that the pool deck needs repair to ensure the safety of students and staff, and the cost is $219,648. Our agreement says that we would split the cost 50-50. Therefore, if approved, our cost would be $109,824. Second, the city would like to install stadium-style lights for the tennis courts so the community can use the tennis courts in the evening. We, as our district, we don't have a need to use the tennis courts with lights in the evening. Therefore, the cost for this would be solely on the city. Next, the city and the district would like to install a storm drain between the outdoor basketball courts and the tennis courts to help prevent flooding when it rains. The cost is $59,575, and the district contribution would be $29,787.50. We ask for the board's approval for moving forward with these 3 projects. In addition, your approval for the financial impact on the district's part for these projects, which comes to $139,611.50.
Thank you. And I do not see any public comment. Are there any board comments on this?
I just want to read. I just want to read correctly that it's coming from the deferred maintenance line item that we've set aside.
Yes.
Are there any I mean, we've deferred maintenance. We've kind of taken. I just want rat issue top of mind, right? Like deferred maintenance. do we have any concerns with pulling from deferred maintenance?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Because,
But,
yeah, you all made the great decision to invest in our deferred maintenance fund, and so we believe we would be able to pay for this and the projects that we are moving forward to improve our facilities at our schools.
Thank you for, because I'm sure like people think, okay, we're pulling from this, we're not paying
Mhm.
for deferred maintenance. That like, leads to certain unhealthy conditions.
And I have a quick question about the tennis courts. So in the tennis courts, like, while we play tennis during the day generally, but in leagues, we may, I mean, if we have the facilities to play in the evening, wouldn't we then potentially use an evening court? Or is that something that is not, just curious, maybe does anybody play tennis in the evenings? Is that not a thing?
I think it's also important to share that we could be playing tennis in the evenings, but it's also important to share that the city has not asked us to contribute to that project.
No, I get that. I totally get that you're trying to hold back the dollars on that one, and I get what you're saying. But it's all right.
It doesn't prohibit our use when it's dark.
Right. No, I know we would never play now, but it's only because we can't because there's no lights. So I'm just saying, if there was lights, then are they going to ask? And we decide we want to. Are they going to want to pony up some money?
We'll keep that
Okay.
under consideration.
All right, can I ask a quick question to my board colleagues? Again, I am supportive of this and feel comfortable with it this evening moving forward, but on process in the future with rec center pieces, would we consider that a 2x2 space first, or would we consider that a facility space? It did not come to our 2x2. Exactly, which is why I asked for this to be on action because I think it is an important.
Same with the Dolphin swim scoreboard thing that's going to the.
2x2.
That went to the 2x2.
So I think on process, we just want to make sure that these all come to the 2x2 first, or the facility, depending on what space it is. Those are
Absolutely.
important places to have.
The joint.
Yes. Okay. So.
And you didn't know.
Yeah. So, and now we do. So if people still feel comfortable, we can move forward. If anybody wanted to wait, we just had a meeting, so it would be quite a while before we have one. Thank you. Okay. So moved by. Question?
I did, but it's okay.
That's okay. We can stop.
Okay, so my question, only because I see that facility quite often, and why can't I think of what they're called, the tennis courts. Is there going to be a way to maintain or make sure that security is safe for our kids at that hour, or our facilities are being taken care of? How would they get into the tennis court if it's after hours? What areas are you going to be opening, closing? Who's going to have this key? That's what I'm thinking. And of course, making sure that River City School is also being protected, because there's really no way to get into unless you're going through the rec center, or unless you have a key to get in through the back. So things to think about that I'm pretty sure we're not, if we do put lights up, with thinking that's what we're moving to do, but just thought.
I can provide an update.
Okay.
All right. So if we want to go back to the original, it was. Can make a motion to. I know that I'm trying to remember who first and seconded. So that's what I was looking over at you. So it was first by Trustee Venegas, seconded by Vice President Wong. All in favor? Aye. I too vote aye. Thank you. That was where I couldn't. All right. And now, let's see, that takes us to action item 5, the approval of the resolution number 2324-38, the Apple Master Sales Agreement via the Pennsylvania Educational Purchasing Program for microcomputers. Nick Stovall again, Chief.
Thank you. We're coming to you with a request to approve this resolution. We want to take a step back because you may remember we recently came to you to pass a resolution regarding the Apple, absolutely, the Apple Master Agreement. In June of this year, you did approve a resolution to piggyback on the Glendale School District agreement. That agreement was unexpectedly not renewed. And so we worked with Apple, and we also worked with our legal counsel to find an appropriate agreement to be able to piggyback on that would ensure that we would have the same terms, no break in service, and the same costs associated with our agreement. And that's when it was recommended to piggyback off of the Pennsylvania Education Purchasing Program for Microcomputers, I call it PIPM, contract to be able to minimize the impact on our district. For a little background, PIPM is a nationwide cooperative purchasing group created to assist government agencies and education organizations in fulfilling their bidding requirements for procurement, and we are already and have been a member of PIPM before I came to the district. And so at this point, we are asking for your approval of a resolution to enable our district to purchase Apple products through the PIPM Master Agreement.
Great. I don't see any public comments. Are there any board comments? Yes.
When you say Apple products, and it said microcomputers, what are we talking about? Like Mac Minis, or are you talking about tablets, or?
So I think PIPM is all encompassing. And so PIPM is the name of the cooperative, and it has a contract with Apple for their products and services. So all Apple products, and should something break down, services to break it down. So it's not just the mini computers. The name of the cooperative is PIPM, and then they have all of their different contracts within that.
For whatever Apple products that we utilize within the, because I noticed we use like Chromebook or HP, I was confused when I saw Apple. Wait, we don't use Apple.
We do. We have some MacBooks and things.
But that's not what I naturally thought of when I see the Chromebook that comes home with my kid, or, our computer that we. So anyway, that just kind of confused me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
So with no other comments, is there a motion?
I move.
Thank you. Moved by Trustee Pizzotti, seconded by Clerk Coffey. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye.
Thank you.
All right. And now that takes us to our board organization, our annual organizational meeting of the school boards. Dr. Cheryl Hildreth, Superintendent.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez. I'm bringing this item forward to ensure that we are meeting Ed Code 35143. And that means that our governing board is required to set an annual organizational meeting within a 15-day period that commences with the date upon which a governing board member elected at that election takes office. And so the 15-day period for that meeting to occur for 2023 is December 8th, 2023 to December 23rd, 2023. And the district must make sure that we announce the date of the annual organizational meeting, the meeting prior to that meeting. So our meeting where we will be having the annual organization meeting will be December 14th, and that was actually our next board meeting. We only have one board meeting for the month of November due to the holiday. So we're making sure that we can meet the requirements, and we will certify that with YCOE as well. There is one decision that the board needs to make for that meeting on December 14th. That is the date of our regular board meeting, and we need to have the annual organization meeting prior to the regular board meeting. So it's more about a matter of time. If our normal board meeting starts at 5:30, do we want to have the annual organization at 5? Or do we want to have the annual organizational meeting at 5:30 and then start the board meeting at 6. So that is a question for the board, so we can make that information public.
Okay, any feedback? Okay.
December 14th?
This is for December 14th. I think we've done it at 5. I would personally prefer 5 because we, I imagine, have, some business that we're doing in December and it can get to be a lot. And so I would personally prefer 5 on time, but okay. Okay, we have at least 4 good. I see another not. Let's go with 5. Good?
My own commission. The state commission.
Could we do 5:15? Doesn't take a lot. We don't have any big swearing in pieces or things, in terms of that. About
I mean, you do what you need to do. All I know is I have to facilitate a commission meeting. That takes time. I mean, 5 is hard. 5.
Okay.
So I prefer 5.
we do. All right, we'll do 5:30 if that means that we're all here. That's one that we want to all be here on time for. So 5:30 we'll stick with. And then, but in terms of timing, if you're posting the regular board agenda, I think maybe we can try for starting at 5:45 with our meeting. I don't think it'll take, I think 15 minutes is probably reasonable, don't you, since we're not swearing people in or those pieces?
Okay.
We'll chat.
So 5:30 annual organization meeting on December 14th with the intent to start the regular board meeting at 5:45. Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That now takes us to our board and superintendent comments. So again, back to you, Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you, and good evening, trustees, colleagues, community. It's been an emotional week. So I want to begin by just taking a moment to acknowledge all of our staff who attended the meeting this evening and all the employees who have communicated with me and executive cabinet and the team over the past week about the district office facilities. I want them to know that we see you, we hear you, and we appreciate you. I understand how difficult it can be to voice your thoughts here in public, especially in a public forum, but to see so many willing to do what we say is important here in Washington Unified, with our motto about equity, excellence, and the main point being empowerment, and seeing staff and talking to them this week, understanding that empowerment is making sure our students' voices are lifted, our parents and families and communities' voices are lifted, but that our staff's voices are lifted as well, because our staff is the backbone of the work that we do to support kids. And without our staff, our kids would not be thriving. Our kids would not have the support that they have. And so for me to see those whose work impact schools, even though they're not directly at a school site, is powerful. And the way that they opened up and shared with me that in the past they haven't felt comfortable or confident or courageous enough to say something, and they said that today. So that is so meaningful in just a variety of ways. I appreciate this board for your commitment to ensuring that health and safety is the top priority for our students, and health and safety is the top priority for staff. It just means a lot, and I just want to say thank you. We will be bringing back to the board and providing updates to staff about the next steps. You all know what we've been doing this week, temporary stopgaps, but what that will look like for the future. We're looking forward to bringing some ideas to you about what we can do in the short term and what we can do for the long term. So that is the commitment of information we will be getting to you, because we all understand that this truly is a sense of urgency. I also want to take the time to celebrate what we've heard tonight. Really is also a true reflection of who we are as a district and as a community, and I want to focus on our portrait of a graduate. Because one of our characteristics is that when our students graduate, they demonstrate the trait of being an empathetic, ethical, global citizen. And the way in our strategic plan that we said we're going to measure that is for our students to be able to make meaningful and effective connections across cultures. And what we heard tonight about the impact of Native American Heritage Month, and recognizing that although that is a small population of students, they still are important. They're still our students. They still have value in their culture. And then to acknowledge Dia de los Muertos. It was an amazing celebration, and to be able to lift that up for the first time district-wide, that is making sure that our students understand and experience culturally responsive environment. And a lot of times there is this narrative or a belief that culturally responsive is something that it's not. Culturally responsive means that we are acknowledging the strength of the diversity of our community. And by doing that, we lift up different cultures and celebrations. And what we saw is that it helps our students feel that they're important, whether they're the largest student population group in the district or the smallest, that their culture is important, and it helps our students in other cultures learn about their peers. And I know that that does not happen, unfortunately, in every district, but it does happen here. And our students see it, and our parents and our families and our community see it, and it's inspiring. So when I say emotional, it's because we've seen celebration and we've seen difficulty, but celebrating that voice is what we do here in Washington Unified. So in keeping with hearing the notion of voice, I want to express my gratitude to our Elkhorn Village parent boosters who allowed me to join their meeting this week. I heard about their interest. I was able to share what we're working on here in the district. They're excited about the modernization coming. They're excited about the performing arts coming. They're excited about opportunities for strong programs. And it's also part of our strategic plan in Pillar B, where we emphasize partnerships with community and families. And it's the one thing that I'm doing differently this year is to build on the strengths of engaging our families and engaging our communities. So last year I had a superintendent's advisory council where I invited parents to come to the district office. This was prior to what happened in the district office, so I'm gonna just note that. But one of the pieces of feedback that I received is for parents, if you really want to know what's on the minds of people, go to where the people are. And so this year, my strategy is instead of having people come to the district office, I want to go to the schools, because each school community is unique, and for people to be able to share what their school community needs. So it started with Elkhorn. I'll be at Southport next week. And so as those PTO, PTA meetings are happening, that's exciting. I want to give a shout out to one of our teachers. I received information that a River City High School teacher, Dr. Amber Bradley, she's been chosen for the Teach Plus California Policy Fellowship, which is a highly selective teacher leadership program. And the program trains current classroom teachers to advocate for policies that impact their students while also continuing to teach full-time. And Amber is one of only 20 teachers carefully selected from across California for this honor. So we're looking forward to what Dr. Bradley is learning and sharing with us. So congratulations, Dr. Bradley, and we wish you all the best in this exciting opportunity. Our students have a lot to say, and we have a lot of student leaders, and our goal this year is to lift up, as we can see with the support of June Flores. We have a middle school leadership development day, and that's going to be Monday, and we are going to host our first ever leadership development day for 200 of our leadership students representing each school in the district, and they're going to gather at Riverbank for a full day of workshops, activities, and learning, and the event is being facilitated by the California Association of Student Leaders. And leadership development days are based on the premise that everyone has the potential to be a leader. And the curriculum is designed to help students discover and refine their leadership skills and use them effectively back in their school, but also in their community. So building this leadership, this empowerment that what you do, even though you might be young, can still impact and inspire others. So thank you to June for that, and I'm looking forward to attending that on Monday. And then lastly, with our community partner, Yolo County Children's Alliance, better known as YCCA, they're hosting the 18th annual Community Giveaway Day on Saturday, November 18th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we are thrilled to share that this year's event will be at River City High School. And the location change, it's usually been on at the YCCA site in that area, but we're going to be able to accommodate more growth and provide more space for resources, clothing, holiday meal kits, and they're going to be providing more details online. A lot to celebrate as we recognize our veterans this week and give thanks and honor for all of those who serve our country and our community. And we all, I know in our ways that our traditions in our household, will take that opportunity of the Thanksgiving reset to be with family, celebrate traditions, and as a district, I want everybody to take time to reset, refresh, take a big sip of water for hydration to get you through until winter break, where you'll have another 2 weeks to refresh, regroup, and then we start all over in January 2024. Lastly, as always, giving thanks to our labor partners, WSTA, CSEA. Our meetings are times when we're able to really discuss what matters, knowing that everything we talk about, as I think Doug mentioned, even with interest-based bargaining, it's really about shared interest and how we're going to meet those shared interests. So just want to appreciate that level of collaboration. And with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
All right, Trustee Basati.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you to Penny for giving me a tour of the conditions that the school, or the, shouldn't say school, the district office was in. I stopped by there this morning and I had her show me around everything. I wanted to be at the meeting before, but I couldn't make it that day. So I thought it was important to stop by. What I saw was pretty insane in terms of the rat droppings and, I didn't see roaches, but I saw where the abatement traps were, and where the ceiling, what are the things called? The ceiling panels, right? So the ceiling panels had been, kind of eaten away. Like there was actual, but more pressing to that, I think, well, maybe not more pressing to that, was where I saw up above those ceiling panels that had been pushed to the side because you're looking to see what else is up there, was water, which again goes to show that water stains are going to create much, much more hazardous problems than even rats and mice. So that is, something that I'm very concerned about. And, maybe we can move people into different locations or do whatever we can for right now. But I just, I saw the video that he was talking about of the rat crawling up the blinds, and I was pretty floored. So anyway, thank you, Mario, for your advocacy. I know how hard it is for you to say what you feel sometimes. But more importantly, I was really struck by the culture of staff not feeling capable of coming forward and saying something. That, to me, I didn't. And I think, maybe this predates my existence on this board, but I think we've always been very interested in hearing what our staff has to say. So I want to at least hope that our staff now feels empowered. And I think from what I've heard in the conversations that I had with the staff when I was walking around, was that they do feel much better about it. And they thank you for, Cheryl, for your invitation to come and talk. So I just want to say thank you. I believe we're moving in the right direction as far as we can and as fast as we can. This is not going to be an easy fix, though. That's the problem. And that's not going to be, means it's not going to be a quick fix. And so we're not going to find a permanent home for staff tomorrow. So whatever it's going to be, it's going to take a minute. So I hope we just have that understanding, and we will do our best as soon as we can find a solution. Let's see, I went to the Westfield Fall Festival, but it wasn't as a board member, it was as a Rotarian. And I was there, helping barbecue hamburgers and hot dogs. And unfortunately, our grill gave way. So we weren't able to cook as many hamburgers as we would have liked for the kids, and we had to turn away a lot of kids, and it kind of broke our hearts a little bit. But I wanted to say that what an amazing festival. Everybody's dressed in their Dia de los Muertos garb, and it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Even the kids were dressed up, they had their faces painted. It was amazing. And the administration at Westfield just really put on a great showing. And I was, I was so thrilled and absolutely touched me. I just wanted to comment about the incident with Westmore Oaks. I certainly hope we follow up with that parent about the bullying of his child. Southport. And that we make sure that we, I thought we had like a zero tolerance bullying policy. So we want to make sure that things like 1, 2, and 3 times should never be happening. So hopefully we do reach out to that parent and find a solution. I also wanted to say thank you to my daughter's 504 teachers because I met with them today, and they are so thoughtful and so creative in the ways that they were able to come up and find accommodations that have made such a positive change in her grades. She's always struggled, always has struggled with grades and attention and focus. And this year she's getting all A's and B's. And it's because of our caring staff and how creative. And I give so much credit to everybody that works in our district for what they do. But I just wanted to call out, our instructors, because they're willing to spend an hour of their time just going over the things that they did and could do that I didn't even have to talk to them about. They already did it intrinsically. They had it. The only other thing that I'd like to ask for is that as we look forward, can we get a schedule of fall festivals? I would have liked to gone to others, but I didn't know when they were happening. So, I would just love to be able to attend more. And then President Kirby Gonzalez and I met on the 2x2, but I'll let her give that in her report.
All right, Trustee Venegas.
All right. I want to start by acknowledging again the staff that came up and spoke today. I can empathize with, I was raised with the idea of don't complain and work with what you have. So, I completely empathize with that way of thinking, and that is the backbone, that pride of our school district. I felt it. But I was also raised of, take care of your own. And I know that as a leader, you felt that, and it was the sense of urgency is definitely there. And I know as the facilities subcommittee, as well as the entire board, was already in agreement that moving is a priority and it is real. And definitely, again, with the sense of urgency and pivoting. Thank you for being prideful in the work and putting children first. But we're going to take care of our own. I mean, that is definitely heard, and I know the leader here is going to do what is necessary. So thank you to the entire staff. It was great to see the Dia de los Muertos celebrated across the entire district. As somebody who we celebrated in our family, I know it's always a good time to just tell stories. I mean, that's a big part of it, is just reflect, tell stories, and demonstrate emotion, demonstrate love. So it's just a beautiful time, and a beautiful, glad to be a part of this board in this district. I want to echo President Knapp for bringing up the paraeducator program and hiring our own. Service, I believe, is the pathway to fulfillment. It's a different level of success when you're fulfilled in the work that we do. So giving our own the opportunity to, feel valuable by contributing and helping someone else. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like when you give somebody else a hand in your own community. So we need to not only keep that going, but definitely amp it up. We have a lot of talent. We have a lot of passion. We have a lot of heart. And I believe we have the organic ingredients and our own to really build what we're looking to build. We're really, really rich in culture and really rich in fighters and people who are willing to do what it takes, right, to make it happen. So that make it happen attitude, our students have it. And definitely looking forward to growing that program. So thank you, President Net, for bringing that up. And I also want to acknowledge, I had a conversation with Dr. Hildreth. You know, in my line of work, I get to meet with different districts and see what's happening across the state, and every resource that I present is valued, which says we're always willing to follow, like willing to learn. We're really willing to learn district, but also through the empowerment of sharing the voice, I think it brings us the courage to also lead. And not only looking comparisons to what Davis is doing, and shout out to Davis, or to what Sacramento's doing, but being the one that people are looking to, because I know that's who we're becoming, and I want to continue to encourage the voice of our staff, the voice of our leaders on the inside, so that we could become the best. I call it that, like, locker room talk. We've got to be able to check our own and be able to take the hits. So not feeling bad to speak the truth, because if our leaders are feeling it, it's being passed down to our little ones, right? So we're leading by example. So I continue to encourage the truth, whatever that may be. And lastly, I'm honored to be getting called from a couple of different schools to come and do some assemblies. But they've all been last minute, and it's already booked. So I'm gonna just book me now for next school year, in kind. No pay needed. Definitely want to do the work. But yeah, book me now. I'll come to all the schools and have a good time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Clerk Coffey.
So Fall Festival is definitely a lot of fun. I was at Elkhorn's, I believe it was already last week. Yeah. I was like, what's going on? I feel like every day is blending. So yeah, Fall Festival at Elkhorn was there. I got to see Christy, gave her a big old hug. We also did some Zumba with the Familia right there. So Familia de Elkhorn and Familia de My Familia. It was just funny because seeing people, they're like, oh, you know so-and-so. I was like, yeah, it's my cousin. Told you guys. I got everybody's my cousin. But yeah, so a lot of fun with all the Dia de los Muertos celebration. I have an ofrenda at home. And my ofrenda never goes away. It is always there. It is, I was like, it is staple. And I'm like, you walk in, you don't see it. You turn the corner and you're like, oh, there it is. So I kid you not, I really do think that that the spirits are with us, our families are with us, they're guiding us, they're helping us get to where we need to go. And it's just beautiful seeing it throughout the school district. And so thank you for that presentation, because it was beautiful. And thank you also, Monique, for the bond presentation. I feel like I'm learning more. I didn't think I was gonna learn much, but I'm learning. Definitely appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next one about COPs. But one of the things that I'm really extremely thankful for is staff coming and speaking their truth, as you guys have all already said. I mean, I love it because I don't know what it was like in years past. People were afraid to come or whatnot, but I love that people are coming up and they're saying their truths, they're saying what's going on, and it's empowering to know that we are a board where they feel that they can say it, whether we like it or not. That is it, and I love it. So keep it coming. More likes than nots, though. But for real, it's just amazing to see the riverbank come in. Like, I saw 3 rows Riverbank staff. I mean, maybe there was a few others, but for sure it was amazing. A lot of those teachers have inspired my kids, from Miss Leon, who was at Westfield as a TK teacher with my daughter. When she was, I remember Miss Leon saying, "I think your daughter might need to need some speech therapy," and I was like, "Yeah, no, she doesn't. She just doesn't speak to people. Like this girl, I mean, she's 13 now, so she's probably gonna be like, Mom, really?" Would go up to you and I remember her going to, this is where she found her voice, when she would go to the football field and she saw her brother playing. I was like, cheerleader, speak up, girl. So if you want to be one, you're gonna have to speak up. And then every other teacher that I've seen has inspired and helped my daughter, helped my son, helped my kids. So it's great to see them in the audience. Little do they know, but hopefully they hear me now. So with that, my baby boy is now part of the bike club. Now, I just thought bike club was just like, let's learn how the bike works and let's put on the helmet, walk, go around the campus. No, they go on like distance away, which is fine. I'm okay with that because it's after school. But my son came home and he was like, "You're not gonna believe this." And I go, "What?" He's like, "We went all the way to the Golden Bridge." I was like, "The Tower Bridge?" "Yeah, the gold one." All right. So he's like, "We learned how to bike. I know now more than ever, how to ride." And so, of course, he rides the bike to school. So now I have to watch him ride the bike home because I'm not putting the bike in my car. So I'm like riding behind him and he just keeps looking over like hand signals. I'm making a left, I'm making a right. And I'm like, this kid, and I'm recording him with my daughter's recording him. I shouldn't say I'm recording because I'm driving. I'm driving. So I don't mean me, I mean my daughter. So we're recording and watching him. And it's just the empowerment that you see now with this. And to be honest, like I am seeing a big change, and I know he's a 5th grader, and next year he's gonna be a middle schooler, but still like that growth. Our kids, no matter what grade level, are growing, and our teachers are inspiring. Our classified staff are motivating. Like everybody has a part and everybody's doing something, and it's phenomenal to just watch. And so anyway, I'll leave it off of that. Everybody have a great Veterans Day. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next month. Ciao. That's it.
But not yet, because first we
I know,
have
not yet, but
Vice President Wong.
And a couple of other things. I think thank you to district leadership who I feel like a year ago brought up this issue. And we weren't ready. And we said, some of us said, go figure this out, negotiate. And we didn't, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if we listened. I'm just gonna own that, right? There was a call from the public we own that. We own a decision to kick the can down the road. We own decisions, and we don't like to hear the truth, right? And then now we're saying it's great, I'm happy, but we have to do something. Now that we know, when you know better, you do better. Thank you to Dr. Hildreth for allowing and empowering our district staff to come, because that's truth, that they were not allowed. They were not allowed to come and speak to us. I'm just gonna name that. That's real. When I see our staff who are district office now, and I love Dia de los Muertos, but that happened for district office people, right? Like there's a function for district folks who are helping schools, and you hear and you see their hearts pouring so that school sites can be these wonderful places, and they are unseen. And they are taught to and told historically to have to oppress their voice. That hurts, right? And so, I use jokes to make fun of it, but the truth is, it's like, to be welcome in a new district and to be told, you know, if you have a roach problem, Monique, like, let me know. I mean, isn't that the first clue? Isn't that the first clue that something was wrong? And I just asked this board to fulfill a commitment of everything, everybody who came, that this is not, no, it's not new, but it's now in front of our face, and let's not sit on it. Let's not, we have a responsibility, right? You know, I was going to talk about curriculum council, which is, again, the work for our district office of, like, you see the love and the light and the things that they put together for our students, and they're still working in these conditions. Because they care, and they're told to put their head down because, again, it's about the kids, it's about the, and then they're still working these conditions. We've been in those, I mean, honestly, we've been in those bathrooms with those open windows. We know what that's like. Why did it take, like, rats raining from the ceiling for us to, like, all of a sudden do something? Because this was brought to us. And why did we not deal with it with urgency? So, you know, again, mixed feelings, because I love DIA, all that. The reality of, like, you don't get the things like DIA or the festivals or any of that or special education supports without the people that you saw. And where are our priorities? So I'll end with
We've been in spaces, as we know, in this facility, in our facility master plans, walking through schools, where we have seen unacceptable conditions in our classrooms, as well as, which is why in current classrooms too, waiting for remodel. And it's unacceptable in our classroom, it's unacceptable in our district office, it's unacceptable anywhere. Cal OSHA says it's also unacceptable. I mean, we just have to act with urgency. It's true at this point with where we are, because it's no longer a issue of, well, it shouldn't ever get to this point, right? It should never be to this point where we have an infestation. And that is when we see a video or hear these stories. So it obviously has, it's not appropriate, wouldn't be appropriate for any of our kids' classrooms, wouldn't be appropriate to work in, it's not appropriate for any of our staff. And so I want to thank the district for moving quickly to relocate people out of spaces that they should not be in. And I would propose that the next facility committee be a special board meeting for your facility plan meeting, if we just do a special board meeting in terms of being able to act there. Or we can talk about it if we need to do, you do your facility committee meeting, and then we tag onto it a special conversation where we have a special board meeting with us. So we can talk about that. I'll talk to Dr. Hildreth about that. Okay. So we'll move forward on that conversation. Okay, and then, so thank you for all the comments from everyone on this board, and from everyone in the public as well. I want to speak to a few pieces that I didn't get to share, the WAS update that we did with Washington Middle College, and getting to see the accreditation that we were going through with Washington Middle College, and to be in the room and have folks from the outside come in, as they do with WAS, and ask the questions of what's happening with your schools and programs and with students, and to have them say, we are really impressed with what's happening here. I mean, it was a really uplifting and wonderful conversation to have, and to have them just really call out how many good things are happening with our partnerships of kids being enrolled in our community college, while also in Washington Middle College. We also talked about some of the lofty goals of enrollment and pieces, and that goes with facilities of, you know, if we end up with more students in that program, how will we adjust to meet the needs for that? And the challenge that we always have is we cannot change a facility based on what might be. We have to do it as we have kids and as they're coming in. But it was a piece that they called out for us. So, but just a really wonderful conversation. I was delighted to have it, to be part of it at Washington Middle College. I wanted to also bring up that we had our conferences. This is a really hard time being in education right now because it's just exhausting, and you're probably all very ready for tomorrow, and we're dragging it on. But soon it will be here. And so, but it is a really tiring time right now in terms of the grading that's happening, the facility work that's happening, just all of the layers of every position, I think, in a school organization right now is tiring. They're ready for tomorrow and then also for that Thanksgiving time. And we did our parent conferences, which I know, family conferences, that our teachers put so much time into, a lot of time and care into that. So I went to middle school, and then I, of course, went to my 4th grader. And I had spent a lot of time recently in a different district in 7th grade, 8th grade classrooms, watching something called Thinking Building Classrooms for our mathematics kids. And it's a partnership right now teachers are doing with SCOE, Sacramento County Office of Education, and it's just some really great work around how to teach math and get kids engaged, and it's been great. I've been spending a lot of time with it. And then I came into my daughter's 4th grade classroom after being in a lot of middle schools, and she is showing me her math work. And all of a sudden I stopped and I said, "Are you doing Thinking Building Classrooms?" And her teacher said, "I am, through SCOE, Sac County Office Ed." And here's her teacher, who's a very experienced teacher, very dedicated teacher, who's done just great work in our district for kids. And she said, "I wanted to really learn something new and try a new way of reaching our kids." And I just am so inspired every day by everyone in this district and the willingness to continue to learn and to serve our kids. From our newer staff to our veteran staff. And it was just a really special moment to have that. And I really appreciated that connection and that we're investing in people and in new trainings in the ways that we are. I also wanted to share that we did have our city 2x2 meeting just this week. I told you it's a really tiring time in education. Just this week on Monday. Okay. So we will have the city and the school district are having the conversations, as we spoke about, in terms of possible land swaps or land use, because as we know, we have city school district property that is used by the city currently, and that is the majority of use. Some of them are very much joint use, some of our parks that we use during the day, and some are not. So they're having discussions right now on those pieces, getting very creative as well with our land conversations, but that will be to be continued. We didn't have a presentation on that. We also had a conversation on communication and having stronger communication with the city. So for example, at the last city council meeting, they highlighted the home run program. And those are our kids with the intern programs and what's happening. And so we talked about really needing to be involved in that. I very much appreciated, the mayor reaching out and inviting people, but it was the day of. And so how do we really strengthen that communication at the level of city staff and city school district? And so they were committed to that. We're committed to that as well. And then the other piece that we talked about was what is the role of public safety in our school districts. We know that public safety and law enforcement has a presence and plays an important role in our support. They're part of our community, an important one. And so we talked about that partnership and what that looks like. Dr. Hildreth and Chief Strange are going to meet together to discuss the history of public safety in our school district and conversations moving forward. Chief Strange was very honest about culture shifts as well and conversations about what that means, because we need to, if we are not a place that sees the police as part of our team, then we're not going to be able to get important work done together. And so just having some, I think, really honest conversations about how decisions in the past have impacted relationships. I thought it was a meaningful discussion. And so as we move forward and look at what our relationship looks like, I appreciated that commitment to the discussions that will continue to happen. So Dr. Hildreth and Chief Strange will meet and we'll talk some more just about next steps and what that looks like and those partnerships look like. Lastly, I wanted to share CSBA has played an important role in many ways. I've been to the annual workshop many times in my time on the board, got my master's of governance. It's an important place to be. But this year, and I spoke to this earlier, I had to kind of make a decision on my time, and my decision was to go to Sly Park for 5 days at science camp. And so that means that I'm not going to be able to go this year to the conference, but I do think that it's a meaningful place to be. And it was just the balance. Right now, where I'm needed most is on a school site. And so that's where I'm going to be, but I appreciate the work that everybody's doing, and I know that there's going to be meaningful work coming out of the CSBA conference. But since I will not see you, I wanted to make sure to make that statement said here this evening. I know, it's a long time, I know. I might see you at the special board meeting that we're going to add. Okay, so.
2x2, you forgot to mention, we did bring up the dolphin swim scoreboard.
Oh, thank
issue.
you. I appreciate that. I did. Do you want to share that?
Other than just to we promised that we would bring it up and that this is something that should be, talked about amongst staff at the staff level to coordinate if the Dolphins had the financing or had the funding for the scoreboard, then, let the two staffs between the city and the school district coordinate this.
Sure, that might be to us then on the, but remove barriers to accept the generous donation. Okay, and so bless you. That takes us now to future agenda items.
President Kirby Gonzalez, can I make one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
Just because she's here in the audience, I just want to thank and acknowledge our director of M&O, Carrie Pena. The move that the team was able to make and pivot overnight. I found out about what had been going on last Thursday about 4 p.m. And Friday, the team was moving boxes. We sent people home and told them to work remotely. I went in those rooms. All staff was putting together desks, tables, Brian with IT, getting things set up. Like, these are the things that happen behind the scenes that nobody even knows. It's just like magic that your workplace was infested and you have a new workspace when you come back Monday, and this happened Thursday. But Carrie, just amazing. You and your team. I hope they're watching. Thank you. Means a lot. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
I'm glad that you did that. Thank you. And I hope that they're maybe not watching right now, but but that they will be relayed the message. Yeah, and truly, everyone here, all of our cabinet, all of our district office staff, everyone, for all of the work you do. It is, you move mountains every single day. Thank you for doing that. Our future board agenda items. So we talked about, we'll discuss, Dr. Hildreth as well, moving that facility to a special board meeting. And I understand that schedules are very, very hard with everyone here. And so we will hope to make a quorum with that. But we'll just preface it with that right now. So we have our special board meeting. That's going to be the Brown Act. And then we are going to, I think I will just facilitate that CSBA conversation in terms of the piece that we did. I don't think we necessarily need to bring in an outside consultant to go over that, but then we can talk about where might we want to go next. Do we want to bring in some training for our board together in other areas? What might they be? So we will have that conversation as we go through our self-evaluation. And then we have our community schools update in December. Our community schools resolution, I'd like to add that, and we can see, work on the wording for that. Are there any other future agenda items that we missed or didn't say? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. The COP presentation as well.
That's one quick question. It's not a board agenda item. We have our special board meeting on room 75 is being occupied, right? Oh, well, awesome. Thank you.
And because it is past 10 o'clock,
I
we
make
will
a
end this
motion to go
board meeting.
beyond past 10. Thank you. Somebody second.
Can we end? All right.
We're going to end. Well, we are going to end.
All in favor?
Aye. We adjourn now.
There we go.
Because it's already past 10.